last where we stopped, we got a chunk of Morgana suffering. We're back for more suffering. Once again, my surroundings crumble. I have no say. I have no chance to object before I'm dragged back to that repulsive banquet. I reach out, stretching my hand as far as it will reach, but all I can grab is darkness. My bloody body sinks back into the abyss. The pain becomes more than just a memory, eroding away at my consciousness. You're a damned witch wearing a saint's skin. Maybe if I had died then, I wouldn't have become the witch you know now. But that's all conjecture. Theorizing about what could have happened is an exercise in futility. But no, I did not die that day. Brought together by constant mistreatment, the Lord's slaves chose that moment to start the revolt. When he swung down his blade, someone bumped into him and it was knocked off its course. I didn't have the strength to get to my feet, so I simply watched the chaos unfold before my hazy eyes. It never even occurred to me that I should try to escape. At some point during the riot, a young man, one of the slaves, grabbed me by my bloody limp arm and led me out of the Lord's manor. The young man brought me to a slum, a place where the people banded together in their hardship, barely scraping together enough to eat every day, let alone pay the taxes demanded of them. By the time we had arrived at a small brothel located a ways into the slum, the fog was starting to clear from my mind. I knew where we were, and feeling the gazes of those scantily clothed women, I trembled. In a sense, that was possibly the most frightened I had ever been in my life, despite everything else I had been through. The idea that I had fallen so far I would have to become a prostitute scared me to death. After all, I was a saint, and saints were supposed to retain their purity. Spreading my legs for any man who gave me enough coins would shatter my very identity. As all that was going through my mind, I probably shouted no in protest, because the slave gave me an exasperated look and told me he hadn't brought me here to become a prostitute. He said he knew someone here, someone I could trust, and that she would give me a room. I had trouble believing him, though. I couldn't trust the word of a prostitute, someone who valued money more than her own body. It was all a trap, I was sure. One day, they would tell me I had to work. Nothing he said would convince me otherwise. Apparently sensing my mistrust, the slave gave me an apologetic frown and handed me a mirror, saying, even if I did, he couldn't get any work looking like that. I could not believe what I saw. That couldn't be my face. It had to be an illusion. There was no way. That was not the face of a saint. Couldn't be. It wasn't real. It wasn't possible. Patches of skin had fallen off my face, exposing the raw red flesh beneath. It looked quite similar to what had been done to my arms and legs, except my face had never been cut before. Looking at myself in the mirror, even I doubted my own sainthood. The thing in my reflection was a hellish abomination. It was the twisted face of a witch. And although I was shocked by what I saw, at the same time it answered several lingering questions. What do you mean, what happened? She has scars on her face, but she doesn't know why. Oh. Okay, Morgana, before she was about to get killed, she did, yes, the slaves of the Lord revolted. It was like, oh, wow, perfect timing. Then the slave saves her and brings her to a brothel. They're like, no, you're not here to work as a prostitute, you're here because I trust someone to give you a room and live. It's all good. Yeah, Morgana was scared at first about that too. And although I was shocked by what I saw, at the same time, it answered several lingering questions, explained why the Lord and his guests had panicked at the sight of me, and it also explained why he had said I was a witch wearing a saint's skin. Over the course of the dozens of banquets I had participated in, my face must have mutated, twisted into this ugly, sickening, monstrous thing. The sight of what I had become sapped the last bit of willpower from me. Not because I was particularly fond of my face or thought myself especially beautiful, but because it crushed me to see everything saintly about me crumble away. Test from God or otherwise, I didn't have the strength left to attempt to overcome it. Deciding I would rather be dead than struggle any longer, I begged the slave to kill me. Taking one's own life was a sin. If I did that, I would not be able to return to my father's side, and I wanted to ask him why I had been put through such tribulation. But the young man refused. He said, completely missing my intention, that if I persevered, good fortune would eventually find me. He said that if I lived on, I would eventually have a chance to get my payback. I had no such worldly concerns though, but if no one would take my life, I had no choice but to live. I despised life at the brothel. The men who came to buy their services were disgusting buffoons, the kind of people who would think they could deceive God. And the women fawning over them were just as repulsive. That said, I had nowhere else to go, which meant I was forced to suffer that sickening place. By the time a year or so had passed, my feelings about it had changed. The women of the brothel took good care of me, treating me like a sister. At first, it was just irritating. I was a saint, and how could a saint have prostitutes for sisters? But over time, I got to know them better, grew to appreciate their circumstances and hardships. Despite barely having enough money to keep food on the table, whenever they had a little to spare, they would use it to purchase medicine, ointments to apply to my arms, leg, and face. And as a result of their generosity, my arms and legs started looking almost human, but nothing had any effect on my face. Occasionally, the slave would drop in to check on me. The other men thought me ghastly and wouldn't get anywhere near me, but he was different. And every time he visited, he would say, "One day, I'll show you the world." And to tell you the truth, I was beginning to grow attached to it all. My time at the brothel was probably, all things considered, one of the brighter chapters of my life. There, I was neither saint nor witch, but an ordinary human girl. For the first time, I felt like my life had meaning beyond my assumed divine purpose. I was even beginning to feel kind of happy. And with each passing day, my intractable worldview was gaining a little flexibility. Perhaps I could perform miracles, but that didn't necessarily mean I had to be the daughter of God or a saint. Maybe I was just a regular person who happened to possess some unusual abilities. Ridiculous, isn't it? Despite coming to accept my humanity, I refused to let go of my miraculous powers. They were the last thing protecting what I thought of as myself. But to me at the time, it felt like a very dramatic change of heart. 3 years after the revolt at the Lord's Manor, I had my 12th birthday, for which they threw me a little dinner party. The women all pitched in to bake me treats, and the young slave man was there too. I was happy. I thought that if life would continue on like this, I was fine with not going back to being a saint. But for some reason, happiness always seems to slip away as soon as you've got your hands around it. No one sincerely wants to lose it, so why must they? I certainly didn't mind not being miserable. Let me tell you what happened that night. On the night of my birthday celebration, bandits attacked the brothel. Now, bandits were hardly a rarity in that time, so everyone was always on the lookout, and we never went out at night. They wouldn't stop at robbing you either. They were armed with blades and would frequently kill their targets if necessary. But cautious as we were helpless against a direct raid. The brothel fell into a panic, screams echoing in the night. The customers were carved up and left for dead. The women were bound and stowed away to be sold. My peaceful world shattered in an instant. And the next thing I knew, I was some slave trader's merchandise. I don't know what became of the prostitutes who cared for me, or the slave who brought me to them. I assumed the women were sold and the young man slaughtered, but regardless, I found myself being rocked around in the back of a carriage once more. The carriage was packed so tight you could barely see the floor, and it smelled like death. Sweat, urine, feces, every foul odor imaginable compressed into a tiny space. There were both men and women there, nearly all of them muttering or groaning or weeping. Everyone was young, ripe to be put to work. It didn't take me long to realize what fate awaited these people, and me. And when I did, I just sat there in silence. Then, for the first time, I cried. I was experiencing, I believe, a very human emotion. I was sad. hurt that I had been taken away from a place where I was happy. And the woman at the brothel and that young man. It crushed me. And no longer did I wonder why such a thing was happening to the holy daughter of God. Something about my tears must have seemed strange to him, because one man saw me and said, "Why are you crying?" He was a curious man. To start, he looked very different from anyone else. The color of his skin, the length of his nose, the shape of his eyes, everything about him was new and unusual. Hesitantly, I replied, "I'm sad because I didn't get the chance to show my gratitude to people very dear to me." The man fell silent, looking as though he was deep in thought. I had no idea why he had asked me that, but something about him made me uncomfortable, so I couldn't bring myself to ask. Several hours later, the man suddenly stood up. The guards had no patience for anyone stepping out of line, and they didn't look like they would hesitate to kill us either. So, unsurprisingly, one at the back of the carriage drew his sword and pointed it at the man. What was surprising, though, was what happened next. The man, his hands shackled like the rest of us, leapt for the guard, slamming his fist into his face and stealing his sword. The entire carriage was in shock. The guards were too stunned to effectively react, so they were quickly cut down. And because the one-man uprising had taken place between cities, there was no one the slave traders could ask for help before they were slaughtered. In the blink of an eye, it was all over. And there was nothing human about what I had witnessed. If I had to describe it, I would say it was as though a wild beast had attacked. The man ruffled through the slave trader's clothes until he found the keys, which he brought to me, ordering I unshackle him. And so I did as he commanded. Once they had had enough time to process what had happened, the would-be slaves applauded. Their wretched souls had been saved, and for a moment, I believed so too. When the man's hands were free, he rolled his shoulders a couple times, made sure everything was in place, and then he began his massacre. Screams of agony filled the carriage as he ran his swords through the helpless men and women packed inside it. Blood and guts were splattered against every surface, and those who tried to escape did not get far before being mercilessly skewered. It was like a scene out of a nightmare. I was frozen in place, not out of fear, but because my mind had shut down. I couldn't make sense of what was happening, so my mind rejected it. And with my brain having given up, my body was no more than a lifeless puppet. In short order, all the slaves were dead, and I was sitting in a pool of blood staring at the man. He pointed his blade at me, and with a little smirk said, "Why didn't you run?" In turn, I asked him, "Why did you kill them?" The smile vanished from his face, and after a few quiet moments of pondering, he replied, "Because I felt like it." "And why haven't you killed me yet?" I asked. To which he gave a curt, "I don't know," then withdrew his blade and wandered off into the distance. And then I was all alone, surrounded by corpses. I glanced down, and half of someone's face was looking back up at me. Shit. Wrapped in absolute darkness, warm blood spills onto my cheeks, my hair, and my skin. Chunks of human flesh rain down on me. Make it stop! Pitter-patter, pitter-patter. There's no end to the deluge. The smell of death fills the air. I'm struck with a wave of nausea so strong I can't hold back the contents of my stomach. But when my mouth opens to vomit, blood pours into it. Ew. Oh, I'm not safe. Let go of me! Dead bodies grab at my ankles, dragging me down. To where? Hell? Or to the mountain of corpses? Now do you understand that there was a time, if but briefly, when I was happy, when I felt human emotions? But I wish I never had. If I had remained confined in my Daughter of God shell, then I doubt I would have felt so much terror at the sight of death. I can't say anything in response. I can't form words. I feel what she experienced, the massacre she witnessed, the limp flesh piling up around her. Even more than twice her age, it's enough to drive me mad. The fact that The fact that a 12-year-old girl had to experience something so unspeakable devastates me. Tell me, my dear, do you pity me? Do you sympathize with me? If you feel bad for me, then you'll remain with me. You'll feel my pain and my despair with me. Won't you? The witch's cackle echoes through the pile of bodies. There's not a speck of light, and hideous death lingers everywhere. Helpless to resist, I'm dragged down into a deep, dark ocean. An ocean of blood. Now, on with the story. I was at a complete loss for some time after that. I didn't want to return to the city because I knew there was no one left who would take me in. There was only the Lord who had bound me and drained me of my blood. So I wandered the roads, no destination in mind and nothing to defend myself but the clothes on my back. Frankly, I'm rather surprised I wasn't attacked by bandits. After walking for days without food or water, my mind was hazy and my exhaustion was at peak. In the distance, I saw a lake. So driven by my thirst, I turned my unsteady feet toward the water, not caring that it took me off the main road. And it turned out that was the correct choice, because there was a small cottage beside the lake, smoke rising from the chimney, telling me it wasn't abandoned. Out of sheer desperation, I knocked on the door. No one answered. The door wasn't locked, so I slowly, hesitantly pushed it open. And beyond it, I found an old woman sitting dead in a chair. The woman was a witch. By trade, that is. It appeared she had a deep knowledge of medicinal herbs, using it to make an assortment of medicines. In her cabinets were dozens of small glass bottles containing dried powdered leaves and crushed berries, among other things. On the fire was a cauldron, liquid bubbling inside. The woman looked as though she was asleep. Presumably, she had passed away of old age, for there was no sign bandits had been rooting through the cottage, and she had a look of absolute serenity on her face. Looking over at the woman's dead body, I didn't cross myself. I envied her. Dragging the woman's body by her feet, I dumped her into the lake. Do you think doing so makes me a bad person? Makes me unsaintly? Well, I didn't have anywhere else to go, and the owner of the cozy cottage was no longer of this world. There was no reason I couldn't fill the home in her stead. Was there? I deserved to have somewhere I felt comfortable after everything I'd been through, didn't I? And so, I took up residence in the old witch's cottage, and remained there until my 16th year. By 16, a terrible cynicism had taken root in my heart. I had no trust for people. I shut them out, building high walls around myself. Such a tumultuous, bloody childhood. It was all I could do to protect myself, to keep my young spirit from cracking. Shit! Nevertheless, travelers would, on occasion, pay the old witch's cottage a visit, seeking her medicines. Whenever someone arrived, I would cautiously crack the door open, telling them they could trade for whatever they wanted with food, and never showing my face. One day, a young man showed up at the cottage. My sister has fallen very ill, and she desperately needs medicine. He was very soft-spoken. There was a distinct kindness in his voice, which I thought unusual. Curious. What kind of person could he be? What did he look like? What expressions did he make as he spoke? To satisfy that curiosity, I snuck a peek at him through the crack in the door. He was a handsome young man with flowing flaxen hair. And upon seeing me, he didn't flinch back in disgust. He smiled. According to him, his younger sister had fallen gravely ill, and though they had tried a number of remedies, she was still bedridden. The medicines I gave him, too, had no effect. According to him, his younger— the medicines I gave him, too, had no effect, but he persisted in his quest, visiting me again and again for new combinations to try. He wanted nothing more than to relieve even the slightest bit of his sister's suffering, and moved by his dedication to his family, I too wanted to do anything I could do. I could to help. For the first time in years, my world encompassed more than my small cottage. When the young man came, he would ask not only for medicine, but to go on walks with me. He volunteered to spend time with me, despite my horrifying appearance. It's not healthy to stay holed up inside all the time. You got this beautiful lake right here. What do you say we take a little walk around the shoreline? He said with a smile, taking me by the hand. We spoke as we circled the lakeside. His voice was always soft and pleasant, like a ray of light shining through a crack in the walls. When I was with him, I felt like I could be an actual person, an ordinary girl. He talked about his sister more than anything, and whenever he did, he was at his brightest and most melancholy. The young man had been a member of a noble house, but disputes over who was the rightful heir had forced him and his sister out. Shortly after that, his sister had fallen ill and was now bedridden. I'll take anything at this point to make her better. I'll even take a miracle if I can get one. That word, muttered beneath his breath, sparked my memory. I was a saint. My blood had healing properties. I had no reason to hesitate. Someone needed my help, and who deserved it more than this kind-hearted young man's sister? So I decided to tell him what it really was, that my blood had miraculous powers, that it had saved people. At the moment I had been born, the drought plaguing my village had come to an end, that I had been known as a saint, the daughter of God. I told him everything, and he believed it all. He led me to his house, where a pale, sickly young girl lay in bed. She was a sweet little girl with the same flaxen hair as her brother, who looked like she would have been quite spirited if not for her ailment. It was touching to see the two siblings sitting there together, quietly holding each other. I would gladly give my blood for the two of them. And so I made a new cut on my arm, which had healed considerably thanks to the slave and the woman of the brothel, and let the girl drink of my blood. Neither of them had any doubts about my sainthood, and because they believed, a miracle occurred. The flaxen-haired girl recovered enough to get out of her bed. I was extremely proud of myself. I felt like for once I had actually saved someone's life. The only issue was, she didn't make a complete recovery. For a few days after drinking my blood, she was in good health, but her condition quickly regressed. I was deeply perplexed by this. A miracle had undoubtedly taken place, but it was only temporary. Now, though, I believe I can explain what happened. Her recovery was nothing more than a placebo effect caused by her faith. But that's something I couldn't have known at the time. We were all three perplexed, and we were all three disheartened. Nevertheless, I was prepared to give her my blood as many times as needed. Whenever her condition worsened, the young man came to request more, and never once did I turn him away. On the contrary, I enthusiastically offered her my services. Over time, though, the hope in his eyes began to fade. He asked me on fewer walks, and he seemed hesitant to look me in the eye. I assumed it was out of discomfort, out of guilt, out of shame about asking for blood. But I don't think his concerns were for me, rather himself and his sister. As I mentioned earlier, blood was considered unclean in our time, and not only was I giving mine away, I was having his sister imbibe it. Looking at it that way, it would hardly be a surprise for him, or anyone else, to think what I was doing depraved. As time passed, the flaxen-haired young man seemed to grow more and more disturbed by me. That was what I got for opening up. That was what I got for letting this kind, warm light shine in on me. The moment things went bad, he pulled away. There were times when I thought I shouldn't have done anything in the first place, but regardless, I held fast to my original decision. I would put myself on the line for them. No one else. Just them. Even if he was afraid of me or had no interest in seeing me, I would continue offering her my blood, and I was firm in my resolve. One day, though, I received a new visitor. The young man was still the only one I would show my face to, the only guest I had let into my walls. So as usual, I took the man's request from behind the cottage door, but I could hardly believe my ears when he began speaking. Were you the witch with the miracle blood? First, how did he know my blood had powers? Second, why had he called me a witch and not a saint? Third, why did he sound like the man who had slaughtered the slave carriage? told the man he had to leave, that I would not be opening the door for any reason. In response, he said, "I am in need of your blood. Could you not spare a little?" My blood was for the sick and needy. I would never spare a drop for a murderer like him. And I told the man exactly that, demanding he leave. All I could think about was the pile of bodies, the fountain of blood. The man drenched in crimson, wearing a ghastly smirk. I trembled behind the door, fearing he may go on another such rampage, but instead, he gave me a simple "as you say" and went on his way. I let out a deep sigh of relief, which is when I realized tears were rolling down both of my cheeks, like an ordinary girl. 3 days later, the flaxen-haired boy showed up at my cottage. "I'm sorry for being so distant lately. I want to talk things over." Those 2 sentences were like a light shining from above. I wanted to talk to him too. I wanted to take a walk around the lake and listen to him talk about nothing. I wanted to experience the warmth of his world once more. And I wanted to tell him about the terrible man who had been there a few days earlier, about how scared I had been. I wanted him to tell me it would be alright. "I want to talk to you too," I said, opening the door without a second thought. The light of the sun was so bright, all I could make out was his silhouette. I couldn't see the look on his face or the look in his eyes. A gentle breeze blew past, and my mind froze. How could this be happening? What did it mean? Why? How? What was that man doing, standing behind him? Why was he carrying a sword? Why was he coming into my house? Why did he swing it down, severing my arm? I was in a daze. I couldn't make sense of anything. I didn't want to. My left arm fell to the floor before I even knew what was happening, and then my legs gave out. The pain, searing and unbearable, came a few moments later as I was lying in an ever-expanding pool of my own blood. I did something then that I hadn't done before, that I had resisted doing no matter how much blood the Lord had stolen from me. I screamed. It was a hideous, visceral noise, a sound I had never thought a saint could make. The same ear-splitting howl the slaves had made as the man had butchered them. I writhed, I wailed, I wept. I crawled across the floor through my own blood. I begged and I begged and I begged for my life. The man walked over and picked up my severed arm, and then, shockingly, he tossed it to the kind-hearted young man, after which he said, "That's your share. Should last you long enough." Share? What did he mean by share? What was he talking about? Why had he given him my arm, and why had he taken it? Why was he talking like they knew each other? Why? Why? I had spared blood for him when he asked, hadn't I? So why was he doing this? Was cutting my arm off and stealing it easier on his conscience than simply asking? You understand how I felt, don't you? You can put yourself in my shoes, can't you? The young man refused to look me in the eye. Holding my bloody arm in his trembling hands, he fled from the cottage as quickly as his legs would allow. The man then walked over and picked me up. I had neither the strength nor willpower to resist. Holding me in his arms, he began to speak, telling me things I didn't want to know, things I didn't want to hear, but he didn't care. Nothing personal, I just need your blood. Without it, she'll lose her church. Don't take it personally? Tell me, is there anyone in this world who wouldn't feel a bit of spite after being put through such torture? How was I supposed to let that slide? No one's that much of a saint. My trust had been betrayed, and I was supposed to turn the other cheek? Man had barged into my home uninvited and cut off my arm, and I was supposed to smile and take it? Is there anyone, anywhere, who doesn't feel even the slightest bit of hatred ever? Is there anyone in this world who could just laugh and brush off this level of abuse? Tell me, is there? How could I not hold a grudge? How could I not despise them? How could I possibly forgive them? Tell me, please. Tell me, how could I? She needs the money. I needed some way of getting enough money to keep her church running. So the Lord made me an offer. If I brought him the witch with the miracle blood, he would finance a whole new church for her. The Lord? Why him again? Why couldn't he leave me alone? after trying to kill me during one of his blood sabbaths, why was he after my blood once more? Had he learned it really did have miraculous powers and decided he wanted me back? You'll get to be the sacrifice, to keep her church from collapsing, to keep her world from collapsing. Sacrifice? Excuse me, what? What's all this about keeping her church from collapsing? You murdered a carriage full of innocent people. You're trying to protect a church? You? Are you out of your mind? Churches are where people go to commune with God, to speak with my Father. How dare you soil these sanctified grounds with your filthy hands, you beast? It's insulting, sacrilegious, repulsive. Just what do you think we are? So don't take it personally, witch. I'm not a witch. I'm a saint. I was a saint. My blood exists to do the Lord's work, not to satisfy the avarice of men. Why is this happening to me? The man brought me back to the city, but instead of taking me to the Lord's manor, he brought me to a church on the city's outskirts. Though, to be honest, it looked more like an estate than a church. The church also served as a hospital, offering free care to less fortunate children, the poor and the infirm. That was when I learned why he had said they needed money. The owner of the church offered unconditional assistance to anyone who came. Even when food and supplies ran low, they would ration their own in order to keep helping others. As a result, the church was perpetually on the verge of collapse. The church was run by a woman, something exceedingly rare for the time. There were no priests. All management was handled by a single nun, who everyone referred to as a saintess. I was a saint. I was this woman who didn't have the ability to perform miracles, being worshipped like she did. Why did the people of the city idolize her? Why were their smiles all directed at her? Why was I not in her place? The man carried me to the top of the observation tower. It was there I had my reunion with the Lord. I was to spill my blood for the people of the city, but also for the Lord's prophet. He was not offering free aid, but selling it as medicine. He claimed it was a miracle elixir, telling no one that it was actually my blood. It was mixed with a beautiful red wine, and drinking it would cure you of any ailment. If they knew it was actually the blood of a witch, they would think it unclean. They would fear it. I remained in prison for a long, long time. In the beginning, the swordsman guarded me, though before long, the flaxen-haired young man showed up as well. Presumably one severed arm wasn't enough to keep his sister healthy for long. In listening to their conversations, I learned that, to ensure no one else could get in, the observation tower was sealed with 3 locks. The Lord, the swordsman, and the young man each held one of the keys. I was their secret, locked away in the tower for them to drain of blood away from wandering eyes. Time went on, and I grew progressively weaker. I lost the will to eat and the will to live. My only view from the tower was the clouds through a window high up on the wall. Occasionally, a pigeon would fly in, sometimes a butterfly, and I would glare in envy as it fluttered around, free to come and go as it pleased. And soon, it was spring. Every spring, the church held a festival to pray for the coming year's harvest and the people's well-being. I could hear the bustle from far below the window as everyone rushed to prepare. You guys realize, and you couldn't stop realizing. I heard the flaxen-haired girl's voice, who had regained her health drinking my blood. I heard her brother's voice, who had betrayed me. I heard the nun's voice, who played saint in my stead. I heard the barbaric swordsman's voice, who had chopped off my arm. And I heard the Lord's voice, the root of all my suffering. I heard people praising the saints as though I, the true saint, was locked in the tower. I heard people thanking the Lord for his generous donations and miracle medicine, though it had all come from me. Propped up on my suffering, they cheered and clinked glasses of my bloody wine. Those merry, peaceful, cheerful, spirited sinners' voices. resounded in my tower. And at noon on the day of the festival, the church bell tolled. And with the 12th chime, I died. As the bell's last pealing faded into silence, the tower door swung open. Standing on the other side of it were the three men. They must have wanted to drain a little more from me to use in the feast, but they arrived at the worst possible moment. The flaxen-haired young man was the first to express his consternation. Why? I never wanted her to die. Was she not eating? The Lord gave my corpse a casual glance and said stone-faced, "Seal the tower off. Understood? No one finds out about this." How can you be so calm? Do you understand what you've done? Pinning the blame on me? How nice it must be to be able to distort reality with panic. The swordsman, who had been silently observing the Lord and the boar conversing, interjected, "You're just as guilty as any of us." Not only did they not mourn my death, they argued over whose fault it was. There was no regret, no remorse. The young man muttered absent-mindedly, I never wanted her to die." What did his intentions matter, though? It was his betrayal that had ultimately tethered me to this mansion. But the fact that they didn't grieve my death, and instead squabbled among themselves like filthy rats, was the final straw. How could I not despise them? I don't believe I actually had the power to perform miracles when I was alive. It was all faith, the illusion of belief. I was neither a saint nor a witch. The blood wine was only effective because people placed their faith in the other saintess. I was only ever human. But then, in that moment, an actual miracle occurred. My father bestowed upon me his power, or perhaps it was the devil who lent me his strength. I was looking down upon my own dead body, my own wretched self. There was nothing beautiful about the pile of bones I had become. I could only smell the rotting flesh. That was once a saint? I laughed at the thought. It was absurd, ridiculous, and infuriating. They would pay. Those who had cast me into this hell, who had mocked me, who had done this to me, who had made a witch out of me. Hatred coursed through me. Revulsion at everyone on these grounds, still smiling. They would know just whose dead shoulders their little party was resting upon. If they wanted so badly to call me a witch, then a witch I would be. I would kill them, every last one of them. Place a curse on their souls. So I made my wish. Most people might consider it a curse, but to me, it was most certainly a wish. And my father, or maybe the devil, granted that wish. From the garden, there rose a scream. The flaxen-haired young man knew that voice better than anyone. He went deathly pale, darting down the spiral staircase until he reached the window. A young girl was on her knees, vomiting blood in the grass. The young man let out a yelp as he descended the remainder of the staircase. As soon as he reached the garden, he lifted the girl in his arms. But she had already perished. Realizing this, he cried to the heavens, saying the one thing he should have kept to himself. The witch killed her. The blood of the witch killed my sister. That wine you're drinking is no medicine. It's the blood of the witch. You're all drinking witch blood. Crushed by the loss of his only family, the young man picked up a silver fork and plunged it into his own throat, ending his life. Naturally, there was an uproar. Gobs of wine crashed against the earth in rapid succession as the people holding them fell to the ground and vomited or convulsed. The nun was the first target of their outrage. What she had claimed to be medicine had turned out to be blood, an unclean substance. The blood of a witch, no less. A servant of the church, a servant of the Lord, had given her followers blood to drink, and at this, their indignation surged uncontrollably. The people surrounded her, tying her up and throwing her to the ground. As he prepared to inflict righteous justice upon her, the swordsman soared down the stairs and into the garden, plunging his blade into anyone standing near the nun. The cries of agony ringing through the church grounds were ear-splitting. It was no longer a place of God, but hell on earth. Hell built up by the hands of man. Hell painted red with the blood of their brothers. The people armed themselves with anything they could find and went after the man. As much of a beast as he may have been, he stood little chance against such numbers. It is the fate of a beast to be exterminated by those he terrorizes. And once he was gone, the nun had no one left to protect her. She too was consumed by their frenzy. All that remained was an inextinguishable inferno, hysteria and despair, madness and outrage, and no outlet for it. It was a revolt that made the slaves' uprising at the Lord's Manor look like a game. Eventually, their rage found a new target, the Lord. It was only natural, for he was the true villain. He was the one who had given money and the witch's blood to the church. He was the one who had profited off it. And above all, people often resented those who stood above them, particularly in time of unrest. The city resounded with cries for the Lord's head, and he looked down upon it all from the safety of the observation tower. He could do nothing but watch as his domain burned. I can only imagine how painful that must have been. But before long, having seemingly have made his peace, he began descending the spiral staircase. He opened the door at the bottom, revealing himself to his people. But before the door had swung all the way open, before he had a chance to say his final words, someone ran a blade through his chest. With that, the raging furor mostly settled down, but it was hardly the end of the destruction. Mere days later, a plague befell the city. Dreadful black spots covered the flesh of the infected. They writhed in pain, screaming and vomiting blood. Ghastly howls echoed through the streets, as though the whole city had been possessed. It became a cursed land. In the deceased haze, the people muttered again and again, "We have been cursed by the witch." In less than a week, the entire city was dead. My body was left abandoned at the top of the observation tower, and as if to seal the curse away in their final days, the people shuttered all the windows, wrapping the house in darkness. It's possible that was no miracle either. You can easily explain what happened to them. Locked away for so long in that dirty tower, maybe I caused some kind of disease, and then, when the people drank my blood, they too were infected. Hardly anything out of the ordinary about that. The first to die, the girl, had already been ill. Her body merely chose the worst possible time to yield to her ailment. That was all that had happened. Indeed, it was nothing more than a fluke, an improbable stroke of luck, an unbelievably unfortunate accident for the city and those three men, and an indescribably fortunate accident for myself. But I wish to believe it was a miracle. That even if my blood didn't have healing properties, and even if I wasn't a saint, my wish, my curse, was what caused that uprising. That was my miracle. Granted to me by God. Granted to me by God, or the devil. I choose to believe that, and that my miracle took on its true form thereafter. My curse had brought death upon the three men, but for whatever reason, my ransom was far from sated. They had died. So what? Death is but a transient agony. It's nothing compared to what I went through. So I made my next wish. I wished for the reconstruction. I wished eternal suffering on their souls. I wished to trap them in a never-ending cycle of pain and hatred. This was my wish for the flaxen-haired young man. He treasured his dear sister, and he desired a quiet life, so I wished for him to have just that. And I wished for his dearly beloved sister to love him more than anything in the world, or his world to be destroyed by love gone too far. This was my wish for the beast-like man. He was conscious of his tendency for violence, and he yearned to be more human, so I had his inner beast toned up just a little. I saw to it that it would never be human, so he would never have the peace he so desired. My wish for the Lord was more straightforward. He seemed to have great affection for wealth and authority, so I'm sure those were the only things he could never have. Who needs love or friendship when you could be drowning in power? Once he had lost everything, his solitude would be his only companion. Wishes can come true, as long as you always hold fast, never stop wishing, never surrender. They can come true. Eternal suffering on all their souls, an endless cycle of reconstruction and unavoidable tragedy. Tell me, my dear, do you sympathize with me? Will you curse them with me? Will you take my hand and revile them with me? This time, my body crashes into the tower stairs. I'm unable to make a noise. The obstruction is less mental and more physical. The excruciating pain. It's so intense I can't even eke out a scream. My vision is distorted. My mind is thick with fog. I feel like I'll fall into a bottomless pit if I loosen my grip on my consciousness even slightly. Through the haze, I see my own severed left arm, reflected in a pool of blood. I see my face, large chunks of flesh peeled off. Look at you, trying to crawl up those stairs like a worm. How pathetic. It's like I'm looking at my old self. I can barely form a coherent thought. I can't lament her inhuman fate. I can't mourn for her, or be shocked by the revelation about the three men and her history with them. Pain. It fills every corner of my mind, every nook and cranny of my body. You figured it out by now, haven't you, my dear? You'll never make it to me. It's not possible. But it's not your fault. It's not because you're weak. There's simply no one who can bear this pain. You're allowed to give up, to rest. There's nothing wrong with that. Pain, the crushing weight. It's miserable, isn't it? But all you have to do is turn back, and it'll all go away. The witch whispers her sweet temptations. You've put in a fine effort. There's no shame at all in throwing in the towel. Her voice is soft, gentle, pleasant. Saccharine. Fuck. Concede defeat. If I do, it'll all go away. The searing pain spreading from the stump of my left arm. The sensation of being perpetually drained of my blood. The miserable solitude of staring at a door that never opens. The laughter I can hear through the window. Oh, very low. It's not fun. My miserable wailing and this maddening hatred. I can end it all. That's right, it will all be over. You have the power to make it stop. Make it all stop. But Giselle... No, I can't let that happen. No, I have to get her back at my side. I'll do anything to take her back, even if it means I end up with 1,000 tiny scraps of meat. I will not give up on her for any reason. You won't, will you? Oh, such beautiful resolve. Willing to sacrifice yourself to save the girl. Like a hero of legend. Or maybe a fairy tale prince? No. I'm no hero, and I'm no prince. I'm human. An ordinary human. I don't have any extraordinary potential. I'm not a courageous leader or a charismatic general. I'm just a regular man, in love with a regular woman, who refuses to lose her. I don't need any other accomplishments, only that. That's all I need, because I'm just a regular man. My one act of resistance. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter how much you cut me up. Nothing changes. What I have to do, I have to take her back and set her free of this mansion. Nothing else. And never will I back down on that. Arms or no, as long as I can move, I must push forward. I must make my way to the woman who waited for me for so long. Up to the top of the tower. Forward. Ever onward. He's so strong! And he doesn't give himself enough credit. He's he just, oh, he's so good. Dragging my bloody body, paying the pain in no mind. I once more arrive at the top of the observation tower. I place my hand on the door, holding myself up with my lacerated right arm. Take a moment to catch my breath, then lift my head, gaze into the void, and shout her name. Morgana! I pity you. I surely do. You were a saint shackled with an unfathomable fate, and for that, I'm enraged. As I felt your pain, as I watched your life, I too felt a burning hatred for those 3 men. If you truly feel that way, then why can't you stay here with me? We're all dead anyway. We've reached our ends. Do you honestly think there's anything more for us? There isn't. The end is the end. So what do you say to 3 of us, me, you, and Giselle, torture the 3 of them and everyone they cared about? Make them suffer here for all eternity, in this house. My stomach's grumbling, I'm sorry. Fuck. And that way you and Giselle can be together forever too. That's not an option. Why not? Because hatred only brings you pain. Oh, that's brilliant. You spouting stupid platitudes at me. I can't believe my ears. Save your nonsense moralizing about how hatred does you no good. I won't hear it. I'm doing just fine for myself, my dear. In fact, I've never been better. I feel wonderful. Did you think that would be enough to persuade me? Really? How disappointing. And here I thought you understood me. Morgana, why didn't you say what you really think? Go right on ahead, hate them as much as you want. But keep me and Giselle out of it. Why didn't you just say that? I do feel bad, truthfully. For all the time we spent together, never once did I ask about your life. I was so focused on myself. And in the end, I pushed you away. That you did. You wanted to be with Giselle, so you pushed me out. I wish I had asked you sooner. It wouldn't have changed anything, though. One puny man knowing what I went through would hardly be enough to erase the loathing I bear. It would have turned out the same regardless. There was nothing you could have done for me. There is nothing. Still, I would like to apologize. Had I known what you carried in your heart, perhaps I could have chosen my words better. Instead of rejecting you, I could have chosen some other response. You cannot remain in this house, nor can I allow her to stay either. So I would like to apologize for both my past actions and my present. Well, in that case, open the door, Michel. I take another moment to catch my breath, and then I gather my strength in the hand of the door. Into the hand of the door. Blood seeps from my fingertips, slowly trickling down the rough surface. It reminds me of my death. I'm coming for you. I push open the door, praying that it will be the last, that beyond it lies the light for Giselle, and if possible, that it might cast a bit of light on Morgana's heart as well. What? However, why am I in my bedroom? What I find beyond the door is the last thing I expect. Huh? As she appears from the shadows of my chambers, I can't conceal my surprise. Giselle? Is this another illusion, Morgana? No, it's not. I'm the real me. Thank you for coming all the way here for me. She's thanking me. So why isn't she smiling? That was very kind and courageous of you, Michel. I'm deeply moved you would have such compassion not only for her, but for someone like me. But do you know what else you are? You're a worm.
What is it this time, Morgana?
What do you say we pull back the curtain, my dear?
What curtain?
There's one detail that hasn't come yet to light. This isn't your first return to the mansion, is it? You've been back numerous times, each time not remembering her, and each time hurting her even more.
What are you talking about?
What am I talking about? Oh, you know good and well, my dear. Or do you honestly believe that all the other pieces were in their rightful places, and you alone were some exception?
I never...
Tell me, how was it? Living in so many different eras, not knowing who you were, and playing with all the different men.
No, you're out of your mind. You make it sound like I was...
Not like, my dear. You are the white-haired girl.
Enough! How could anyone possibly confuse me with her?
To tell you the truth, I couldn't see you as anyone else. Your white hair, red eyes, porcelain skin, and your name. Tell me, what about you isn't the same?
We're not the same person. I saw the letter. What?
The one you had hidden.
No.
You didn't think that was worth mentioning?
No, Giselle, I didn't mean...
You're exactly right, my dear Giselle. He deceived you. He kept a very important secret from you. Despite showing up before you multiple times, he cast you aside again and again.
No, that wasn't me. It wasn't...
It all makes sense now. Nothing you ever did was for me.
Giselle,
Go on, Giselle. Tell him exactly how you feel. Michel?
Please, don't say it. Not that, please. I'm begging you. Stop. Please don't, Giselle.
Not actually.
Please. Don't say it!
No man at all, are you?
You're disgusting.
You're the only one it could have been, my dear. The only one who could have been the white-haired girl.
The next moment, my whole world comes tumbling down. I could have borne anything. Losing my arm, having my face torn off. Any amount of pain, I could have handled it. For you, I could have done it. But this, hearing those words coming from your mouth, being rejected by you, that I cannot. Those words, they bury me alive. You're the one person I never wanted to hear them from. When I learned that my father Anthony had passed, I wrote 2 letters, one to my brother and one to my mother. It was the first time I had found the courage to face my mother, to open up to her. I wanted to show her who I was, convince her that I wasn't cursed, so I could be myself when I returned to the capital with Giselle. Dear Mother, there is something I wish to tell you, something that means a great deal to me. So I ask of you, please hear me out, and I ask of you, please accept it. Mother, I no longer bear any resentment for my present lot in life. Nevertheless, I would ask of you to concede one thing, that I was never cursed, that I was always your son, that I'm Michel, not Michelle. I have found someone whom I care for dearly, a woman, and I love her with all my heart. I would like to spend the rest of my life with her. I do not wish for much, simply to have a quiet life with her, to go through our days together, man and woman. That is the one thing I want. Mother, I know you're aware that my body is no longer female. I am a man. My heart is male. I love that quote so much. And I ask of you to please accept that. I have no grudge with you. In fact, I'm incredibly grateful to you. for bringing me into this world. With love, your dear son. Shortly after sending that letter, I was killed. Dragged down against my will into the darkness. Beneath me spreads my own past, my door. The door I swore never to open, but despite all my efforts to resist, the door sucks me into a world I never wanted to see again. A history I never wanted revealed. A past I never wanted anyone to see. Nonetheless, the door opens. The seventh door! The seventh door! Happy Pride! Yes! Oh my god. There are two things out of the ordinary about that baby. The first its parents embraced, and the second they wholly rejected. Although it was some time before the baby's second peculiarity emerged, and until it finally did, no one was any the wiser, not even the child itself. Its mother surely enjoyed that brief period of happiness before a child finally realized the truth. Blind to the fact that the moment it had let out its first cry, everything came crashing down. To this day, she still doesn't know the child she gave birth to, that she set loose a curse upon the world, a curse that turned angels into demons, humans into witches. Oh my god, look at that. She's beautiful, isn't she? Have you seen her laugh? Not yet, I haven't. I said that first line with like remorse, like bad. My god, look at that. Not yet, I haven't. At any rate, that color is certainly something else. God's gift to us. No, she's an angel sent from heaven. An angel. Ah yes, I can see it now, Liddy. Her white hair and almost translucent skin. It's beautiful. My, she opened her eyes. Maybe she felt you nearby. Do you like your father more than me? Is that it, sweetheart? Gorgeous, aren't they? Such a deep, enchanting color. Like two little jewels. Ah, they are. That they are. A magnificent shade of red. I've never seen anything like it. This is our child. She's special. I can feel it. We have to take good care of her. She needs a name. One that's just as special as her. Have you already chosen Antonine? You were the one begging for a girl. You do it. Besides, I already had to rack my brain for the boys' names. Now it's your turn. Are you really going to let me? My, that's quite a lot of pressure. Name her after an angel, then. Oh, I like that. Alright, then. Call her Michelle, after the archangel. Michelle, Michael. What the fuck? You'll grow up to be as beautiful as an angel, my Michelle. I've always wanted a little girl. With her snowy white hair, skin so pale you could see the veins beneath it, and her ruby red eyes. She was a very peculiar-looking little girl, and her mother showered her with love. She truly believed her daughter was an angel sent from above, born as a human child. The blessed babe, born a girl, was given an angel's name. Michelle. Me. Checkmate. I see. That's what you did. Curses. I completely overlooked that. I thought you were advancing with your pawns, but that was all a diversion. You're too short-sighted, did you? Shit. You need to look at the big picture. Sometimes it's the tactician and not the soldier holding the sword. Huh. You got me. You're quite good at this, Michelle. What inspired you to take such an aggressive strategy? It was not inspiration. It was derivation. Derivation? Chess is in many ways similar to real war tactics. Ah, my military texts. You haven't read all of them, have you? I have nothing but time. Impressive. Even I haven't read all the books in my room. You planning to join the order with that kind of knowledge? You jest. You're the one who's going to be a knight, did you? Huh, that I am. War is the men's job, after all. I want you to be there to welcome me home.
Did ye? Oh, did ye? I'm in a bit of a bind. Could you... oh, hello there, Michelle.
I didn't know you were home, George.
Just got back, yep.
Oh, ho, ho. Playing chess again, are ya? Let's see. What do we have here? Get away from the board. Yikes. You got trounced, huh? And you call yourself her big brother? As if you're any better. It's not funny, George. I cannot approve of someone who can't keep up with the flow of battle becoming a knight. Given our family's rank, you would eventually be put in charge of other soldiers. What? Are you worried about me? No, I'm saying... I've been blessed with such a caring sister, but fear not. I have a guardian angel, after all. Where's the logic in that? Sorry to interrupt your, moment, but... does nobody listen to me? Now, don't pout. So what seems to be the problem, George? Yes, listen to this. The royal court is holding a swordsmanship show, and for some reason, I was selected to participate. How unfortunate for you. I can already see you on the ground sobbing. Hey now, that's just mean! Besides, my hands weren't meant to hold a sword. Look at these dainty fingers. They're covered in calluses. Dainty calluses? Tell me, why would they have an artist sword fight? That's the whole point, I would think. No need to get so worked up. No one's expecting you to win. Maybe not, but we do have a name to worry about. And you know what that means, don't you? I'm going to lose, that's a given. But I want to do it in style. I feel bad for your sword. Oh, don't be like that. Now, come on, time's a-wasting. To the courtyard we go. Just so you know, if I train you, I'm going to train you right. All I want to know is how to look good. What is it, Michelle? So mean. May I watch? Fine with me, but you know you can't go outside. I'll be watching from the hall. I can open one of the windows facing the courtyard. Still, you need to be careful. You can't spend too much time in the sun. I know. I had two older brothers. The eldest, Didier, belonged to an order of knights that served the church, and below him was George, who served as a court artist. He was, in all likelihood, who would inherit the family estate, as knights were not formally allowed to own property. Nevertheless, the Belanger family name was upheld by Didier. And then there was me, the youngest, the only daughter. Physically, I was not in particularly good health. Because of the color of my skin, I was hypersensitive to sunlight. I rarely left this state. My world was contained entirely within these walls, and perhaps out of some sense of pity or compassion, my two brothers spent a good deal of time with me. Didier played chess with me, and George taught me how to draw, and among other things, they taught me how to read and write. For a girl, I was incredibly fortunate. The one thing I wasn't allowed to do, though, was hold a sword. While hardly anything unusual, it bothered me deeply. And it had for as long as I could remember. If I had been told I couldn't do it because I lacked the strength, I probably would have accepted it. But the reason given was not that I was weak, but that I was a girl. With each passing year, that smoldering frustration in the back of my heart grew larger. Come on, put your back into it. Like I said, all I want is to put on a good show. Oh, you'll put on quite a show, unless you learn how to swing that sword properly. Give me a break! Out in the garden, my two brothers traded swings, bare-chested. All I could do, though, was observe from afar. And every time I found myself forced to watch, I felt a sharp pain like a needle piercing my chest. A needle that seemed to be growing ever thicker. My mother and my brothers loved me dearly, but that didn't change the fact that the outside world lay beyond my reach. I was trapped in the estate by my own body. At first, I thought that was the root of my pain. But that answer seemed to contradict something inside me. Something I couldn't explain. Something I couldn't ignore, even as a child. So I searched within myself, trying to find an explanation for the constantly swelling sensation of wrongness inside me. Day after day, I gazed into the cavern of my own heart. My, now what are the two of them doing out there? George was asked to do a swordsmanship show at the royal court, so Didier's helping him. Swordsmanship? Oh, I just can't stand those shows. Blades are so dangerous. I can't watch people swinging them at each other. Why don't you come back to your room with me, Michelle? I would love to teach you how to sew. But Mom, I want to watch them practice. Michelle? First of all, you need to watch how you speak, young lady. You do not call me Mom, you call me Mother. This is what happens when you spend so much time around boys. As your mother, I don't approve of you playing chess or making art. A woman has no need for such skills. They will only make you look insolent. But I want you to grow up to be a respectable woman. That is my job and my dream as your mother. Now, come. I would rather you looked at some fine embroidery with me than in a couple of sweaty men. Yes, Mother. You're my little girl, after all. Spending time with my mother was agonizing. Was it because her world was so isolated? No, that wasn't it. Her gentle voice, the sweet scent of her perfume, the way she constantly told me how much she loved me, and her... The fuck is that word? Diatribes. Diatribes. Diatribe. And her diatribe is about how wonderful it was to be a girl. Everything she did put so much pressure on me. But above all, she loved to say, you are my little girl after all. There was nothing strange about that at all. Every time I looked in the mirror, I saw the daughter of a noble. That was who I was. Oh my god. Jeez. So the only thing wrong was how I felt. But every time I was faced with the reality of who I was, my heart wavered. I had no interest in learning to embroider. I didn't understand why that was necessary. I knew what purpose it served. Everything she taught me I would need when I was wed off to some noble boy, and it was my responsibility to learn those things. It didn't feel right, though. I couldn't even accept the fact that one day I would be married. It was but an ominous shadow lurking in my future. I would have preferred ravaging the books in Didier's room than having a conversation with my mother. Tales of heroes of old and dauntless soldiers, military texts written by tacticians in the midst of war. Thinking about them set my heart aflutter, and made me think about my brother. He was training to be a knight. I envisioned armor flecked with rust, a longsword glimmering with the blood of savages. Soon I found myself in my fantasies, imagining how the sword would feel in my hands. The sensation of the hilt beneath my fingers, swinging it gallantly, like my brother. How heavy was it? How much muscle would I need to carry it? How much impact would I feel in my hands when I struck something? How restricted would my vision be wearing a helmet? How much did it weigh? How hot was it inside? I had no way of answering any of those questions, though. Kill me now! I have some cloth, if you'd like to wipe yourself off. Oh yeah, thanks. I'm so dead. You were at it for a long time. I never known Dee to half-ass something once he gets started, which I guess is what makes him knight material, but... Are you opposed to him becoming a knight? Well, you know, I kinda assumed he'd inherit the estate and taken care of everything. So it's like, why's he gotta go and be some priest whipping boy? Don't tell him I said that, though. He wants to fight for the greater good. I don't know. Despite the name, he wouldn't be doing much fighting himself. Anywho, someone as passionate as him might be able to make changes for the better. Changes? He knows what condition the order is in. That's why he's joining. Figure he wants to whip it into shape, melt him down and reforge the whole thing. Huh. So he might be able to change things. What? What are you muttering about, Michelle? Hey! Whoa, hold it! The pain I felt in my chest when I smelled the sweat emanating from George's body. When I looked at his slender but distinctly male build, I was convinced it was admiration. Did I want to become a knight too? Maybe the discomfort I felt was because I wanted to be like him? Would it all go away if he were able to change the rules and I could join the order as well? I was positive it would. Didier? Michelle? Hold on. You can't come barging into my room unannounced. I'm trying to change. We need to talk. I said stop. You're a girl. You can't just walk in on a man as he's changing. I see no reason for you to be so self-conscious. Listen to me, Michelle. George tells me you're planning to overhaul the order. He told you that? No, I hardly have such grand aspirations. Don't be coy. I believe you have what it takes to do it, Didier. What's gotten into you? You're unusually fired today. So I want to ask you a favor. When you have enough influence in the order, I would like you to make me a knight too. You what? I'm tired of the way Mother treats me. Always saying I can't do this or that because I'm a girl. I want to learn how to swing a sword. I don't want to do embroidery. I don't care about jewelry or fancy clothing. Michelle, what's gotten into you? I'm so much more interested in the world you live in, Didier. So please. Well, I'll be. I suppose we must have let ourselves spend too much time with you. Not you too. That's exactly what Mother said. First of all, Michelle, you don't have the strength to hold a sword. Then I'll train until I do. And if that doesn't work, I still have my mind. You know good and well I could. People are not chess pieces, Michelle. But Didier! But above all, you're missing the most important point. I will not for any reason become the kind of man who makes a woman take up a sword. Didier! This may seem normal to you, growing up with two brothers, but I want you to listen to me, Michelle. Men and women walk different paths. Men wield swords and fight against dangerous enemies, and they do so to protect the weak, women and children. Shut the fuck. I'm here to protect you and your mother. You're no different than her. You don't treat me any different than her. Honestly, what's gotten into you, Michelle? Why wouldn't I treat you like a daughter of the Belanger estate? Your brother and we never meant to make you think. Forget it. What? I'm sorry. I knew what I was asking was foolish. Oh? But I thought you would understand how I feel. Even just a little bit. What was I expecting him to understand? Even I didn't understand the things I felt. I wanted to know what had gotten into me far more than he did. What I had done was no better than throwing a temper tantrum. Was I that desperate to become a knight? No. I had just thought that the key to the chains in my heart lay down that road, but ultimately there was nothing. Assuming Didier had agreed, and assuming I did become a knight, it wouldn't do anything for the core problem. As I dashed from my brother's room, I snuck a peek at him. His face was filled with an intense perplexity, and how could I blame him? I had tried to push a dozen different ideals onto him at once, filled myself with the vain hope that he would somehow be able to make sense of me when I couldn't even make sense of myself. And now, bubbling with unwarranted anger at being let down, I fled to my own chambers. I can only imagine how frustrating that must have been for him. It was the spring of my 14th year. Heavy clouds filled the sky, blocking out the sun and giving the impression of late evening all throughout the day. I, for one, preferred it when the sun wasn't out. Not that sunlight would kill me, but if it was bright enough, the whole world was so white I could hardly see a thing, which meant I could only go outside on days when the weather made most everyone... What? When the weather made most everyone else gloomy. As I was meandering through the courtyard, I spotted someone I had never seen before. A warm breeze blew past, sending up a swirl of flower petals. The girl's dress hung lightly over her frame, tracing her gentle curves. "Who are you?" I asked bluntly, and the girl twirled around, smiling. "My apologies. I just have
You just have such a beautiful courtyard here. I let myself in for a little walk.
Long chestnut hair flowed over round feminine shoulders. Oh, wow, I can't speak. It swayed slightly in the wind. The cloud of melancholy dissipated in the light of her smile.
You must be Michelle. You're just as pretty as I heard.
And you are?
I say again. My name is May. My name is May. It's a pleasure to finally meet you.
Finally meet me? What was she talking about? As I stood there baffled by this strange woman, she stepped toward me, kissing me softly on the cheek.
I'm thrilled to make your acquaintance, Michelle.
Her voice was like someone pouring honey into my ear, electrifyingly sweet.
I'm George's fiancée.
And it also stuck another needle into my chest. She was a noble girl by the name of May Yobert. Though only 15, she was the very image of refined, polished to a shine.
Oh, she's 15?
No one had told me my brother was to be married. It came out of nowhere, and it seemed that I was the only one who didn't know. That evening, when the family gathered around the table for supper, and May was there too, and they prepared an extravagant feast for the occasion. My father Anthony looked so proud of his two boys, DJ soon to receive his assignment, and George soon to be wed. The banquet proceeded smoothly. Not a doubt in the air that we were a happy family. My mind was elsewhere. I found myself unconsciously chasing May with my eyes, watching the way those slender fingers gripped her spoon, her full lips parting to allow a piece of fruit in, her deep red tongue visible for but the briefest of moments, the way all the muscles in her face seemed to relax in the bliss as sweet juices seeped into her mouth, the way she spoke, so soft and gentle, letting each sound hang in the air just briefly before intoning the next. She was distinctly feminine, in a different way than my mother. Apparently, May was going to be living at the Belanger estate for some time. Mother was pleased to have another girl around, or more specifically, she was relieved to have found someone other than my brothers for me to spend time with. I had assumed I would hate being around another girl. Surely she wouldn't be able to play chess after all. But for some reason, I felt much less suffocated around her than my mother. Oh, get ready to get more hurt. This store hurts a lot. One night, May's family had an array of nobles from both houses' social circles assembled at the estate for a party. A din the likes of which I had never heard of in my life filled the great hall. Everywhere I looked, there were people. Servants scrambled every which way, silverware clanged against dishes in an almost constant hum, voices from all directions. I felt moderately ill. Hey Dee, I feel like we're critically short on waiters. This don't look good for us. And who was it who went about inviting everyone he came across again? Who are those people? They're artistes like me. I met them at the court. Let's see, we have some painters, composers, sculptors, troubadours, poets, writers, you name it. None of them have any connection to the Yoberts or Belangers. Oh, the vacuum's coming. And it's going away. Sure they do. They're my friends. And you know, this is me and May's party. Fuck. Coming out is hard, yes. That's why he kept it such a secret, especially in these times too. Oh, it's so horrible. You can play with your friends elsewhere. I hope you realize we have a reputation to uphold. Off in one corner, several men, presumably George's friends, gathered in a circle. Hold up, Remy wants to go pee, and I gotta be right back. baby has been sleeping the whole time, but now he's awake. I just hope he's not a baby. I can't guarantee. Oh. Off in one corner, several men, presumably George's friends, gathered in a circle. They stood out from the other aristocrats, both in appearance and the air they gave off. Gloves they wore, the embroidery hidden beneath their jacket cuffs, and I'm starting to cry right now. Okay. Their manner of speech, the way they held themselves. They were, simply put, a far cry from the hard-headed Didier's ideal party guests. Even watching them from afar, it was clear my two brothers ran in very different crowds. The only reason headstrong Didier and free-spirited George were able to get along at all was because they were brothers. If they had been strangers, I thought their paths would cross much, and if they did, those intersections would be quite rocky. Hey, come here, guys! George's shouting voice pulled my preoccupied mind back to the surface. He summoned his friends, then led them to where I stood. What are you doing hiding in the corner, Michel? I didn't even notice you. Allow me to introduce you to a few of my friends. George puts his hands on my shoulders, peeling me off the wall and sending me in front of his male friends. Socialization was the last thing in my mind. I searched for Didier, hoping he would come to my rescue, but he was off trading pleasantries, facing away from me. This is my baby sister, Michel. Be nice. George, I don't... Graces, your skin is even more pale than I imagined. It's like something out of a fairy tale. And why have you never brought her with you to the court? She'd be a sure hit. And how old are you now? 12, ma'am? Now, don't treat the lady like a child. I'll have you know she's 14. All the more reason she should be out there making friends. The whole court flipped if they knew you had such a gorgeous sister, George. Don't be a brute, my man. Our little angel has to be kept inside for personal reasons. Uh-oh, looks like I haven't been showing the lady her due respect. Not since the beginning, not since you spoke a single word. Just... I had to even properly introduce myself. How weird indeed. The laughs grated on my nerves. So did the way George spoke as though I was his property. It looked like they were praising me, which made me sick to my stomach. I'd been paying enough attention to notice the man who had asked if I was 12, and the rest of them too, examining me from head to toe in search of curves. I was indeed underdeveloped for 14. But what did that matter? I didn't want a body shaped like a maze or my mother's. Now then, milady, a proper greeting. The man got down on one knee before me. For a split second, I didn't comprehend what he was doing. Go on, Michel. He's waiting. He whispered into my ear. That was when it all came back to me. The traditional greeting performed between a man and a woman. Come on, Michel. Don't tell me you forgot what to do. I knew. I knew the process. I had that knowledge. Mother had taught me the rules, shown me the procedure. I was to present my hand to the man, for him to kiss. All I had to do was hold out my hand, but I was frozen. My body fought tooth and nail against the simple act. The thought of that man putting his lips on my skin sent a chill through me. Why? Why was this a traditional greeting? Why did I have to go through this? Michel! At the sound of George's frantic voice, my arm creaked up from my side. Then I remembered that despite being his friends, they were still nobility. As wanton as his social interactions may have been, he still had a reputation to remain, and I understood that. I also understood that, as her sister, it was my responsibility not to do anything that might tarnish either of my brothers' names. Also, by tradition, the man wasn't supposed to actually kiss the woman's hand. The proper way to do it required he simply mimic the act rather than make real contact. That much I could handle. The man kneeling before me gave me an uncomfortable chuckle at my reluctance, shrugged, and reverently took my hand in his, and then he pressed his lips firmly against my skin. There was a vaguely warm sensation in the back of my hand for the briefest moment. What do you... Reflexively, I smacked the man's hand away. George's eyes went wide in horror, and the man gave another playful shrug. I was merely offering you a greeting, milady. Or is this even that a new experience for you? Experience to you? Your innocence is truly precious. I was half a second away from throwing a barrage of insults, but I bit my tongue and stomped off instead. Get their ass! Oh my gosh, she can't. She knows she can't. Oh. The reputation. What? Michelle? Hey, come back, Michelle! I spent all the time convincing myself I couldn't humiliate my brothers, but now I couldn't hear a word of it. I had drawn a fair bit of attention, and the other people tried to stop me too, but I brushed them all off, marching my way out of the great hall. I feel so dirty. You call that a greeting? No, that was no greeting. That was... I'll be taking that, I say, practically swiping a glass of water off of a passing waiter's tray. With it, I washed my hand by the window facing the courtyard. But no matter how much water I poured over it, I couldn't erase the sickening sensation of his mouth on my hand. So I rubbed it with my sleeve until my skin was bright red. I wanted to feel something else. Anything else. Even pain. Think before you act, George. What were you doing inviting people like that into our home? I was angry and had every right to be. He had not performed the proper greeting. Even in jest, he had no business actually putting his lips on my hand. It was not acceptable behavior for an aristocrat. He was a guest. He should have been ashamed. Was I angry that he had been disrespectful? No, that wasn't the reason. It was... That wasn't very nice of you, running him off like that. The sound of his voice, I couldn't turn back. Why would you just have to... I felt a sickening warmth almost directly against my back. The man from the Great Hall grabbed me by the wrist, spun me around, and pressed me against the wall. The bitter scent of wine wafted from above. What the hell are you doing? I tried a second time to get away from him, and that was when reality sunk in. I couldn't do it. All the strength I could muster wasn't enough to make the man's hand budge. My arms were locked in place. I didn't think he was especially strong either. He was hardly built like Didier. And still, I couldn't move an inch. You got a tongue like a boy, milady. But I know some people are fond of that these days. Can't say I mind myself. Let go! Had I always been this feeble? Were my arms truly so worthless I couldn't even escape this brute's grip? Why did I have to get stuck with this body? Now, just so we're clear, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm no monster, I promise you that. Then why are you holding me against the wall? Because I want a chance to try and woo you. Oh yes! You think this is working? I apologize if I made you uncomfortable back there, but the second I laid eyes on you, I knew you were a keeper. You're making them uncomfortable right now! Oh! And let go of me! But if I do that, you'll run away. That's the point! And it's my personal rule to never let go of anything I like. Shut the hell your mouth. Your brother says you can't go outside, so if I let you loose now, I might never get a chance to catch you again. I wanted to vomit. Apparently taking my signs for approval. okay. Apparently taking my silence for approval, the man perked up and kept going. If you're not accustomed to being around men, then why not use this as an opportunity to get familiar? Not a half bad idea, if I do say so myself. And I think we'd get along quite well. Besides, I'm a minstrel. Spend some time with me and I'll write you all the songs you could possibly want. Get away from me. You really do have the most striking eyes. Makes me want to keep them all for myself. With music like that, I could write the most incredible songs you've ever heard. I said get back, you creep! Huh? That's odd. That one has never failed me. The man brought his face inches from mine and peered into my eyes. I could feel his hot wine-stench breath against my cheeks. It gave me the chills. I couldn't understand why this was happening to me. Panic and confusion had my heart racing. Go try your luck with someone else. I'm not interested. You will be soon enough, darling. You've simply never known a man's touch. Shut the fuck. He drew closer. He was already practically on top of me, but still he closed in. Closer and closer. The world faded out. I couldn't see anything. I could feel his rising body heat so near it made me nauseous. My eyes flung open, but there was nothing there. I could only feel. I couldn't move. My body wouldn't budge. In my mind, I kicked the man away. Pulled my fist back and slammed it into his jaw again and again and again until his face was unrecognizable. Again and again and again and again, and I beat him. But reality would have none of that. Michel! Hey, what do you think you're doing? 3 seconds? 10 seconds? Longer? I had no idea how much time I had lost. But the next thing I knew, George had the man by the collar. Fell back against the wall, staring absent-mindedly again as the two struggled. They traded blows and traded insults. Before long, they had drawn a crowd. While they went at it, I distractedly drifted away, and I only had one place to go. Didn't even bother to light a candle. I just stared into the darkness. My heartbeat was maddeningly loud in my otherwise silent chambers. What had happened? What had he done to me? Why couldn't I do anything? The last thing I wanted to do was cry. Tears would only serve to worsen my humiliation, only magnify how wretched I was. Only make me more effete. I bit down my lip hard. I had no need for that trash in my body. I dug my nails into my arms. I had no need for the trash in my body. All of this, every last bit of it, that was why I was the way I was. I didn't know how to put it into words. I didn't know how to express this boundless frustration within me. But after enough wordless groaning, a single word slipped from my lips, and it felt incredibly right. God damn it! I knew good and well a girl should not be using such words. Even Didier and George would have gotten an earful from mother or father if they were caught saying that. Regardless, God damn it! It was the most fitting word I could come up with to represent even the smallest bit of my anger and loathing. I knew all I was doing was shifting the blame, that all I would accomplish was making me look pitiful, but I would take that over crying like a girl any day. I let loose a sigh that was halfway to being a scream, and started clawing wildly at my hair. I wanted to yank out every last damn strand of it. I didn't want it. I didn't want any of it. Any of this body. But in that case, what did I want for my body? Michel? May I come in, Michel? It was George's voice. Slightly muffled at the door. The man who had invited those people in his house. I would be lying if I said I didn't hold that against him. Michel. But at the same time, he had also come to my rescue. Besides, I hated myself the most. I despised myself for being so helpless. I'm sorry, Michel. I didn't mean to hurt you. It's not locked. After a few moments of silence, George stepped into my room. Your hair's a mess, Michel. My God, you're bleeding. That was when I first noticed the stinging sensation in my lower lip. A metallic taste spread through my mouth. I had been biting it much harder than I realized. There was a lot more blood than I expected. The trail of it was running down my chin, seconds from spilling onto my clothes when George wiped it away. I'm really sorry, Michelle. He can be a real ass when he drinks. Okay. And he is a bit of a womanizer at that. I never expected he'd try to go after you, though. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. But, you know, there's a chance he may have, genuinely taken a liking to you. That just makes it worse! Sorry. You're right. You want to be with a man you like. I understand. Oh my gosh. Why'd you say that there? He ran his hands through my hair as if trying to calm me down, at the same time cleaning up the mess I had made of it. It made me feel like I was some kind of plaything. The joke of a doll. I don't... Huh? I don't want to be with anyone. I would never, ever be comfortable with a man putting his hands on me like that. However, I'm sure you'll find someone eventually, Michelle. Someone that feels right for you. I feel kind of awful for introducing you to him, but there are plenty of men in the world. You might not be interested now, but that'll change soon. It's part of growing up. You'll be best off forgetting today ever happened. I was dead certain, but apparently that wasn't enough to convince him. The very idea that I might one day meet a man who I wanted to touch me made my skin crawl. Why? Why did I feel like this? Was I just not interested in men? No, if that were the case, I wouldn't admire my brother's bodies. I didn't have an aversion to men. In fact, I enjoyed spending time with my brothers far more than indulging my mother in her woman's world. What I couldn't stand was the particular look men would sometimes give me. But why? Why didn't I like that? I had no answer. My thoughts were only going in circles. Are you okay, Michelle? He peered down at me, his face twisted in concern. I couldn't answer him. How was I supposed to articulate this? My anger, my frustration, my irritation, my fear. Men fucking suck. Yeah. I had no confidence he would understand. George, how's Michelle? May's voice came from the doorway. Inexplicably, I felt like someone had stuck their hand in my chest and was now squeezing my heart. Like I had just been caught in a compromising situation by the last person I wanted to see me. Yeah, she's doing good. Aren't you? Yes, I'm fine. Glad to hear it. I was clearly lying, but not even looking him in the eyes when I was clearly lying, not even looking him in the eyes when I said that. But that seemed to have gone over George's head. And May, on the other hand, you don't look fine at all, she said, a hint of pain in her voice, and then entered the room. George, my father was asking for you. He says it's time to bring the gathering to a close. You should get going. I'll stay here with her. Oh, is he? Alright then. Sounds good. Once the sound of George's footsteps had faded into nothing, May took a seat beside me and, without warning, wrapped her arms around my shoulders. It's much better to talk to another girl at times like this. My heart leapt into my throat. Beyond the shock, I also found myself welcoming the warmth. It was pleasant, unlike the man's. It must have been terrifying. Don't worry, you're safe now. It wasn't really, no. No need to pretend, sweetie. If a man had me pinned against a wall, I'd be scared too. I mean it. I wasn't scared. I'm just disappointed in myself. Alright, I believe you. You're a strong girl, Michelle. There aren't many who wouldn't have been scared. I'll be sure to give George a stern talking to about his choice in friends. Something I learned today is that he's somewhat of a pushover. You're a lot more tenacious than I thought. As a woman in this world, you have to be. And if you're not, well, you'll figure it out soon enough, Michelle. Of course, even as strong as you are, I'm sure it'll be difficult to forget what happened to you today. George had told me to forget it as soon as possible, and it made that I wouldn't be able to. Was it the difference in their individual perspectives, or was it the difference between the way men and women thought? I wasn't sure. As my head rested against her breast, a bit of my frustration slipped out. I couldn't move my arms at all. He didn't even seem all that strong. I couldn't believe that I was really so weak. That's just the way of the world, Michelle. Men are physically stronger than women, so they'll almost never overpower one. You're not any weaker than a normal girl. Don't blame yourself. But it wasn't the consolation I had hoped for. Her words still filled me with warmth. I had exploited my own weakness to hear more of that soothing voice, and I alone knew how foolish I was in doing so. Yeah. Society has put these poopy laws of nature onto us. I may frequently visit my chambers. I didn't know if it was at Mother's request or of her own volition, but I prayed it was the latter. She was a very touchy-feely person, and she seemed to have a particular fondness for playing with my hair. Whenever her voice danced its way into my ears, it would wreak havoc inside me. Being enveloped in her scent day after day stoked the fire growing within me. I did my best to remain as straight-faced as possible, because the last thing I wanted was her catching on. I understood that the things I was feeling were untoward, to say the least. Your hair is so utterly enchanting, and I've never seen hair so white before. I think having color is much prettier. Oh? Well, George says white is the most difficult color to make with paint. There's no greater challenge than capturing the beauty of pure white. Living with such a splendid example of the color must have given him a very high standard of quality. Say, Michelle, maybe you could tell me about yourself today. I would love to get to know you better. Tell you about myself? Yeah, we could become even better friends if we found some mutual interests. I enjoy playing chess, and I consider myself quite good. Oh my, chess? I've never played. You're such a bright girl, Michelle. Would you like to try? I could teach you. I appreciate the offer, but I think I'll pass. I doubt it would be any good. Oh, okay. What else is there? Say, your favorite kind of flower, fragrance, color of gemstone. Are there any embroidery patterns you're particularly skilled at? I don't have any favorites, no. I'm not especially good with the needle either. No? Do you have shaky hands then? I wouldn't say that, no. I'm, fairly good with a knife, I think. A knife? Oh, like a kitchen knife? No, a sculpting knife. Sculpting? Is that really so strange? It is a bit unusual, I'd say. But George does it all the time. His room is practically made of wood chips and charcoal and paint. George is an artist and a man. There's nothing unusual about him doing some sculpting. Why is it okay for him but not me? Does being a girl really make that much of a difference? Well, why don't we practice embroidery together, Michelle? I get the feeling you've spent too much time with your brothers. But now you have me. I'm sure it won't be long before you appreciate how much fun cooking and needlework can be. He sounds just like Mother. And she gives the same reason, too. Because I'm a girl. It's not an explanation. It's a vague generalization. That said, if I agree, I could spend more time with her. Okay. Wonderful. We'll come up with beautiful designs together. Hello, loud car. Ugh. And where you've made something you're proud of, you can give it to a boy who catches your eye. Or if you prefer, you can give it to your father or brother. I would like George to have what I make them. Oh, I've been wondering, did you and George meet at the royal court? Oh, heavens no. I've never been to the court. One day my father told me I was getting married. And the next day is when we first met. It happened that quickly? What, are you worried about me, Michelle? Don't worry. I'm not displeased with the arrangement.
In fact, I'm quite happy with it. Aristocratic marriages are almost always sudden. And as a woman, you get used to being a piece in their games. But George, he's different. He's a gentleman. A gentleman? Him? You sound surprised. I believe Adonis suits him better. Oh, I quite disagree. I have complete faith he'll do good by me. I couldn't fathom where she found such confidence in him, especially a man she had only just met. How could she trust him at all? She was nothing but a pawn, and she knew it. So maybe she was simply putting on an act. I had trouble believing her smile was anything but genuine though. One day, you'll meet the right man for you, Michel. And he won't be a drunk like the guy from earlier. He'll be a kind, hard-working, respectable man. I would rather not find anyone. I suppose this is all still too soon for you, huh? Say, how old are you, Michel? 14. Oh wow, I assumed you were younger. Do I really look that young? No hard feelings. You're just like a tiny little doll, so small and slender. And look, not one bit of meat up here at all. Hey! She playfully grabbed me from behind and started prodding at my chest. As her delicate fingers slid across my skin, I found myself gripped by very indecent urges. Every heavy thump of my heart felt sinful. She couldn't know. I couldn't let her. Everything I'd been fighting to keep down came hurtling to the surface. You're so cold, you know that? She was touching me like it was nothing, caressing my hair. Was she this intimate with George? Or was it because I was a young girl that she was so keen on putting her hands all over me? Before I understood what I was feeling, my body acted. It was pure, unfiltered impulse. In my attempt to escape from her grip, I twisted around, only to find my face inches from the maze. Slowly gravitating closer, I pressed my lips against the corner of her mouth. May sat there flabbergasted. I was equally aghast. I'm sorry. Miss Franson put some distance between us. I'm sure my face was red as an apple, though I didn't know it at the time. Well, that was certainly unexpected. I'm sorry. Did it make you uncomfortable touching you so much? I may have smiling, though it looked forced. No, not at all. And it must have startled you. Sorry. If I had let you go sooner, we could have avoided this accident. What do you mean, accident? A kiss on the lips is... It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a me. I seem to have confused you somewhat, Michel. What? I know I can be very touchy-feely with you, and you took that to mean you should do the same. No. You can't do it again, alright? If you want to kiss your friends, you do it on the cheek. Save the lips for the man you love. I should get going then. George starts getting cranky if I don't give him enough attention. Oh, hold on, May! So long, Michel. She wouldn't hear me out. Once May had fled my chambers, that was when I finally comprehended my own emotions. She had stolen my heart. But May was George's fiancée. No, that wasn't the problem. My body was not meant for her love. I woke in the middle of the night to pain in my joints. Not enough exercise, I guess. I tried bending and stretching my arms and legs, but it did nothing. So after pondering on it for a bit, I decided to go for a late-night walk to distract myself. As I approached the corridor adjacent to the courtyard, I heard a woman's voice. I'm still concerned about staying here. May's voice. Doing my best to remain perfectly quiet, I pressed myself up against the wall by the window and listened in on their conversation. I knew it was improper to eavesdrop, but the sound of her voice had me frozen in place. It's Michel. I'm afraid confused her.
A tiny jolt ran down my spine, my muscles all tensing up at once. The sound of my name rising to her lips, but not in the way I would have liked.
She kissed me. Well, almost, but how could I have guessed she thought of me that way? Mother told me she didn't have any female friends, and asked me to be one for her, which is why...
So she had only been coming to see me because Mother had asked her to. I had been afraid of that. Afraid that she wasn't there to be with me, that she had no fondness for me, that my yearning for her was one-sided.
She kind of scares me, the way she looks at me, always watching every little move I make. I'm sensitive to that sort of thing. I can tell what's going through Michel's mind. I managed to deflect it this time, but I should have never gotten friendly with her.
She had seen through me from day one, understood what I was feeling before even I had.
It's disgusting.
Homosexuality.
The homophobia!
Homosexuality? Did I hear her right? Something inside me crumbled, and with it came my intense sense of wrongness. There it was again, that overpowering discomfort, that fear coursing through my veins, that repulsion, that irritation, that apprehension. What on earth was I? Did I view May as a member of the same sex? Were the things I felt homosexual? I heard May sigh from beyond the window, and the man beside her, who she was confiding all of this in, replied, She's still just a child. That voice, and one with underdeveloped social skills besides. Understand that she's going to do and say some inappropriate things. It's not uncommon for a child to mistake admiration for love, and I didn't know this until recently, but when she gets something into her head, she has a tendency to run with it without thinking. It's not the man's I assumed it was. The other day, she asked me to let her be a knight. I can't imagine how she thought that would end in any other way. Why? It's not very often there are women other than Mother at the estate. I imagine she simply got nervous being around you, and something got mixed up in your head. Why was Didier out there with her? I hope that's all it was. May, hadn't you told me you thought George was a gentleman? So what were you doing, getting so friendly with Didier? Didier, weren't you my ally? Or was that all an act like her? You were going to be a knight. So why were you out here with your brother's fiancée? I'm glad to have you here, so I hope you can figure something out to make it work.
I'll do what I can, but I'm kind of reluctant to say this to you. Something has to change. As it is, she kind of grosses me out.
She grosses me out. So what? I was some kind of sick, disgusting creature? All I had done was show feelings for her. Couldn't it be George or Didier? The needles piercingly expanded, both in size and number. Soon I was being skewered by a dozen of them, and the heated sighs rising from the courtyard only served to make the pain worse. All I could do was cover my ears and run.
Oh, everything, baby.
Why? What are you doing out there, Didier? How am I gross, I mean? It's not real. It's all a bunch of lies. This entire house is nothing but a fraud. None of it was ever real. The family gatherings, Emmy's smiles, Didier's kindness. George. What about George? Did he agree to the marriage knowing about them? What the hell are they thinking? You want to know what's really disgusting? God damn it! I will not cry. I will not cry! I
can't let myself. Girls cried. Tears are for girls, not for me. I bit down hard on my lip, wrapped myself in my sheets, and pressed my hands hard over my ears. Squeezed my eyes shut as tight as I could imagine, tried to get away from the things I had seen. Images of them embracing in the night threatened to float back to the surface, but I shook my head, casting them off, praying I wouldn't have any nightmares. I drifted off to sleep. The next day, I woke with a terrible fever. I hovered in a sweltering wave of heat, unable to tell dream and reality apart, listening to a seemingly endless stream of cracking noises. The sounds were coming from inside my body. I thought I was falling apart. Mother was horribly worried. I had never been the most healthy child, but I had never fallen this ill either. I couldn't get out of bed. My voice was raspy like an old woman's. I was genuinely afraid I would wither away and die. Mother called in doctor after doctor to see me, but they all said it was the flu. That bodily pain was common with a fever. While there was a doctor in the house, Mother was able to remain relatively calm, but once they were gone, the anxiety came back. She stayed with me day and night, even before going to sleep. Her hands gripped mine, they held me fast. She had her head bowed, as if in prayer. Don't worry, it'll all be right. It'll be all right, Michel. God is watching over you. He'll protect you. You are his child. You are his angel sent to earth. He will not forsake you. The doctors say it's just the flu. Her words seemed to be directed at me. There was a vacantness in her voice, as if they were really for herself. For so long, she had wanted a daughter. I couldn't understand her fixation. Seeing her there through my cloudy eyes, I wanted to apologize for ever thinking spending time with her was agonizing. How are you feeling? Your mother's here for you, don't worry. But the only sound that came from my mouth was a faint gasp. I drifted in and out of sleep, Mother's hand wrapped around my own, and I had numerous dreams. In my dreams, I was a man. In my dreams, I was Didier and I was George. In my dreams, I fell in love with Aimee. In my dreams, I loved her. You're disgusting. But with one word, the dreams twisted into nightmares. My body was torn into fleshy chunks, and I sunk into the darkness. Several days later, my fever was gone, like it had never been there. However, my voice did not recover. When I attempted to climb from my bed, the murderous pain in my joints came rushing back. Instead of my feet, I landed on my face. My voice was unbelievably deep. The pain only got worse. Every time I took a breath, it felt like someone hammering a spike into the back of my neck. It felt like my body was falling apart, like my dreams were becoming reality. Michel! Michel! When Mother scrambled into my chambers, I remembered the time she had spent at my bedside, and a wave of relief came over me. I reached my hand out in a show of vulnerability, but she didn't take it. She couldn't take it. Mother... What's wrong with your voice, Michel? I see. You're still not feeling well, are you, Michel? A look of restrained fear on her face, Mother stepped toward me, placing her hand on my forehead. Her palm felt hot against my skin. You don't have a fever. But I hurt all over. My joints. You're still sick, Michel. But don't worry, you'll be fine in no time. Now back to bed with you. You're a girl. You're a girl, so you shouldn't be sitting on the floor. It's bad for your back. As Mother repeated the phrase, you're a girl, again and again, that nagging sense that something wasn't quite right grew more distinct. Was I really sick? Is this actually my voice now? As if it was... What was I turning into? My voice. Certainly not a girl's voice. appendix me.
My voice never went back to normal, though. My mother ordered me to remain in my room. I hadn't recovered yet. And so long as I was sick, I couldn't be let out. Again, something felt wrong about her calling it a sickness, but I had no evidence to the contrary. I had no way to know I wouldn't get others sick if I exposed them, as she claimed, so I had no choice but to do as she said. In time, Mother stopped visiting me, and the only people I saw were servants. They did their jobs, but refused to look me in the eye. No one else came to see me, though. Not May, Didier, or George. 1 month passed, then 2 and 3. Occasionally, the pain in my joints would withdraw. At other times, it would worsen. Whenever I would drift off to sleep, I would hear the sound of my own joints creaking. I would dream of a woman standing in the courtyard, her soft chestnut hair fluttering in the wind. She twirled to face me, a smile on her face and her breasts exposed. Michel just dreaming of boobies. One day, after around 6 months of servants refusing to make eye contact, I stopped one and made a request to have a mirror brought to my room. While he didn't acknowledge me, the next day I had my mirror. By that point, I was fairly certain I knew what was happening to my body. I had no clothes to wear, because none of the multicolored dresses hanging in my wardrobe fit me anymore. Pulling the heavy red cloth covering the mirror aside, my completely naked body came into view.
Oh.
Something resembling a mix of a chuckle and a sigh of pity spilled from my lips. This is me. 6 months. After only 6 months' time, I could hardly recognize myself. Extending my hand for the mirror, I traced the outline of my bony reflection. My shoulders lacked Mother's curves, and my skin amazed sheen. I was pale and haggard, but structurally, I looked like my brothers. Obviously, being younger than them, and not as active, my muscles lacked any kind of strength, but I wouldn't have batted an eye if I saw myself holding a sword. I was a full head taller than I had been 6 months earlier, and I felt an odd certainty that I wasn't done growing either. Staring at myself in the mirror, I traced my name across the surface. Michel. Don't need the last two.
Michel!
Ah, you're so pretty. For the first time in my life, I liked my name. I still didn't think an angel's name suited me one bit, but it was staggering how different it felt now, even if it sounded exactly the same. Those last 2 letters changed the meaning entirely, turning it from a girl's name to a boy's name. Now this makes sense. Everything was falling into place. My admiration for Didier, the envy I had for my brother's bodies, the feelings I had for May, the indecent dreams I had been having. I was always male. I cackled like a fool for the first time in my life. I laughed so hard at the sight of myself my stomach hurt. It was the first glimmer of light I had seen in this locked room for far too long. This was what I was supposed to look like. My life up until 6 months ago, constricted and uncomfortable. My life as a girl. It was all a lie. No one could possibly look at me and call me an angel. Just laughing. I was always a boy, but I had been told I was a girl, forced to act like one. Of course that wouldn't feel right. I needed to know. I couldn't be the only one who understood. Everyone in this house needed to. Pulled by this one desire, I wrapped a sheet over my shoulders and threw open my door. It seems ridiculous how long I had followed Mother's instructions and remained cooped up in my room, and now I felt fantastic. If there truly was a God in heaven, then this change within me was his answer to my prayers. A manservant carrying a tray of food did a double take as I passed him. The farther I proceeded through the corridors, the more eyes I felt on me. The midday sun shone obnoxiously bright through the windows, and now with its piercing radiation illuminating my proper self, I felt an odd affection for the light.
he got the body he wanted. Also, he's like, all his clothes don't fit him now, so he's just wearing the cloth that covered the mirror on him, so he's practically butt naked. You could hear the family gathered in the great hall, everyone but me. Didier's voice complained about the simple meals the church provided, but his pride came through in his laughter. George's voice playfully bragged about life at the royal court. That's king shit. Father's voice informed everyone his investments had borne fruit, and with the money he had purchased several new estates. Mother's voice was distinctly less bright than the rest of the family's. She gave vague, empty indications she was listening, though mostly stayed out of the conversation. The maid's voice sang her praises for George, her beloved husband. Never mind the fact she was sick of Didier. It was all a facade, a mere shadow of the family. It's a shame Michel couldn't be here. Maybe we would have everyone. I was there. I was right there. I hadn't gone anywhere. You had just locked me in my room. I hope she recovers soon. I was never sick at all. The child you called Michel was actually your son. That was all there is to it. Huh? What? Everyone's gazes concentrated on me. I gave them all a quick glance, and then with my deepened voice I said, I am cured. I was cured 6 months ago. Who are you? Surely you haven't forgotten my face, have you? Father? Michel? Michel? This boy is Michel? A wave of chatter spread through the hall. Mother went pale. Father objected. Didier stared. George gaped. It's so loud outside. George gaped, and May watched cautiously, fear in her eyes. What a farce. They were the ones who had wrongly decided I was a girl. What's going on? Someone tell me, what is the meaning of this? You were dressing your son up like a girl, Mother? I assumed he was a girl. Otherwise I wouldn't have put my hands on him like that. You lied to me. I would have never agreed to it had I known. No, you're wrong. She's Michelle is my daughter. You called that a girl? All these months I was worried because you said he was sick, but that was all a lie. I couldn't pass him off as a girl anymore, so we locked him up in his room. Is that what this is? You could have just stayed there. What possessed you to show yourself now? What the hell? Stop that! Don't look at me! Don't give me that look! You said you can tell what's going through our mind, didn't you? What? Then you should know exactly how I feel about you right now. Don't be so damn full of yourself. I have no interest in a whore like you. So why don't you go cry into Didier's arms? Oh God! God! You... What? Huh? What are you talking about? Why Didier? Why not me? What? Hey, anyone want to explain that for me? What had once been a nice family meal was now utter chaos. For the briefest moment, I felt sorry for George, but that whisked away almost immediately. There was a crash from the table, and dishes fell, shattering against the floor. Cursed! The chilling darkness oozed from her voice. She was cursed! She was my daughter! I saw it with my own eyes! I gave birth to her! She was a girl! Michelle was a girl! A living curse has been placed on her! When Mother lifted her head, I had difficulty believing that When Mother lifted her head, I had difficulty believing that was the same woman who had sat by my bedside as I lay sick, sacrificing sleep to care for me. Her hair was a frazzled mess, and deep creases covered her face. Restrain her! Throw her in her room and lock the door! She's a girl! A girl! She was a girl, I swear it! Open your eyes! Do I sound like a girl? Do I look anything like a girl? Mother's cries sent me into a frenzy. I ripped the sheet off my shoulders, throwing it to the floor. I'm not a girl! And shouted. Restrain her! Please!
Someone restrain her! Fear reigned in the Great Hall. But then several moments of icy silence were broken by a muttering that shocked me as much as anyone else. You're not a boy. Or a girl. What on earth are you? You're an abomination! Oh, that clown. You're not a boy. You're an abomination. What? I had seen myself in the mirror. I was undoubtedly male. Lacking in strength though they may have been, I had visible muscles. My chest was flat and I was taller than a girl should be. My voice was deep and I had an obvious lump in the middle of my throat. I was male. I had to be male. What else could I be? So why wasn't they looking at me like some kind of strange creature? A chill ran down my spine, and I suddenly found myself deeply uncomfortable being so exposed. There's nothing there! You've got nothing there! Nothing there? I didn't understand what she was talking about. Unable to press further, I fell silent, at which point several servants burst into the Great Hall and restrained me. She's a girl. She's my daughter. Mother, seemingly in a mad daze, just repeated the same thing over and over. She was a girl! As Mother wailed, she wandered off somewhere. Father stood there in silence, and May stared at me with disgust in her eyes. George was sullen in panic, and Didier clenched his fist. Eventually, I started regaining my composure, which is when I realized I had made a mistake. My sickness had been made into a curse. I was once more caged up in my room. In addition to the door being locked from the outside, the windows were boarded over so no one could see in, leaving me in perpetual darkness. I received no visitors except the servants, and again, none of them would look me in the eye. Ugh. I think I could explain this now, but Michel is intersex. He has parts really close to a female's, however his appearance has become very masculine naturally, so he is intersex. Just like, wow. Never do I come across something with an intersex character. Every day was the same, day in and day out, day in and day out. The only time the routine changed was when, on occasion, a servant would arrive bearing a letter. It was my mother's handwriting on the parchment. Oh my gosh, Adam would be intersex too, huh? Like, no, he literally has no sex. Not. Wow, oh my. Oh. It's all coming together. He's literally sexless. Something. Oh. Oh. I realized and I couldn't stop realizing. Yeah! Oh, okay. Continue. What was it? The only time the routine changed was when, on occasion, a servant would arrive bearing a letter. It was my mother's handwriting on the parchment. We lived in the same house, yet she refused to show herself before me. I had no choice but to respond to her letters. She demanded I speak like a girl, and I didn't have the strength to defy her. There was a constant sense of urgency to her letters, like she might fall apart completely at any second, and so I did as she said. I signed each letter Michel, the female name she bestowed upon me at birth, which I so despised. Every time I used that name, I felt like I was denying my own identity. On paper, she expressed her concern for me, but that concern only served to cause me more pain. So every time I took up my quill, my hands trembled. Mother prayed daily that my curse might one day be broken. Am I cursed? Is that why my body changed? Was it not because I was male? There's nothing there. What did she mean by that? Why did she look at me the way she did? How am I an abomination? Why? I don't understand. Someone, anyone, please tell me. Someone, please!
I wonder if they even taught him that.
I've brought you supper. I'll be back shortly to retrieve your dishes.
Are we going then?
Wait. What? Wait a minute. Yes? What do you need, Michelle? Are you a man or a woman? Pardon? Which are you? I am exactly what I appear to be. Which are you? I am a man. That is all. I will be going now. Clothes. Off. What? Take your clothes off. Right now. Everything. Even your underclothes. What? Surely you jest, Michelle. This is the only way he'll know! I am very serious. I could not possibly... Why not? I could not expose myself. Jeez. I could not expose myself. I ordered you to take off your clothes.
Oh, okay.
You mean to humiliate me? I beg you, please reconsider. What are you? You're a servant of the Belanger estate. And what am I? I'm a child of the Belanger family. I may be locked up, imprisoned in this room, but that doesn't make you any less my servant. Am I wrong? Clothes off. Michelle! I ordered you to take your clothes off. Not even the tiniest sliver of guilt arose in my conscience. I felt no shame in what I was doing. All that mattered to me was figuring out what Aimee had meant. I wanted to find the truth, not knowing I would have been better off in the dark. His face twisted in humiliation, the servant undressed before me. In the dim candlelight, the man's body was shaped almost like a rectangle, and at a glance he didn't appear much different than me. A second later, though, I found my answer. I found the one crucial thing he had that I didn't. Why? My lower body lacked a part that made a man. Are you satisfied, Michelle? It was then that I had finally learned what a man's body was supposed to look like. I'm begging you, please allow me to dress. It would be an unbearable shame to remain unclothed any longer. Before the young Belanger daughter. Daughter? You still insist on calling me a damned girl? Look at these shoulders, my chest. Listen to my voice. How can you possibly think any of that belongs to a girl? But how you appeared does not... There was a distinct look of fear in the manservant's eyes. Not out of respect for our difference in rank, but out of disgust for this incomprehensible thing standing there before him. This clown-ass servant, like, oh, how you appear doesn't... I mean, he just said it in the beginning, like, oh, I appear as how I appear to be, like... His trembling eyes, and the reality dangling there before me, blew the lid once more off everything I had been holding back. Without that, you would be no different than me. What? Everything else is all the same. So why does it make such a difference that you have one and I don't? Michelle? I'm a man. I'm a man just like you. I'm no one's daughter. If you still insist we're not the same, then I'll make you like me. Without that, you're no different than me. It was a mix of dread and panic that pushed me over the edge, and so, in order to keep myself afloat, I decided to bring another pain. Please don't do this, Michelle! in a blind frenzy, hardly even aware of what I was doing, just riding the current of my erupting emotions. I swiped a knife off the tray the man had brought, knocked him down, and climbed onto him. I'll get rid of it. I'll make you the same. Without it, you'll be just like me. Get off me, please! Someone help! I'll make you just like me. Can you hear someone? Anyone? Michelle! She's delirious! Oh my gosh. Michelle be like, just gonna cut your dick off. Understandably, though. Through the fog of hysteria, I suddenly realized I was surrounded by several servants, and the next thing I knew, I was on the floor beneath them. There was as many, if not more of them, than when I had made the scene in the Great Hall. A dozen menservants stared down at me, their eyes full of fear and revulsion. And in the shadows beyond the crowd, I saw Mother looking in on me with vacant eyes. Mother. Mother! Why will you only speak to me through letters? Why do you say I'm cursed? Mother, I'm male. I was always male. Tell me that I am, Mother. Let me out of here, please. I'm not delirious. My head is perfectly clear. I'm normal. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm not cursed. Mother, say something. Mother! After that, I was shut in my room again, and even the servants stopped coming. I pushed and I shoved and I pulled and I pounded with all my strength, but the door and windows didn't budge. A day passed and then another. With no food or water, I started fearing death was upon me. I'd had no idea how miserable it was to go so long without water. My throat was dry and cracked, and it felt like it was on fire, making breathing difficult. 2 days. 48 long hours. I felt like I was going to lose my mind. After just 2 days, my skin stretched tight across my bones, looking hard and dry in the soft candlelight. Water. I need water. Someone, please, give me water. Why won't anyone bring me any? Why? My family had abandoned me and were leaving me to die in this room. When I realized that, I broke into uncontrollable shaking. The helplessness threatened to suffocate me. Fear of death turned to panic, which only scrambled my already confused mind further. I grabbed the chair, swinging it at the window, at the door. But all my attempts ended in crushing failure. Anyone? I clawed at the door, begging for help. Someone, open the door! Anyone! Water! I need water. 1 drop. That's all I need. I'm going to die in here. Someone. Anyone. Mother. Father. Didier. George. Someone open the door, please. Help me. Someone. I need water. My throat hurts. It burns. I'm so weak. Someone. Water. Didier. George. Anyone! Not a single soul came to the door. With no food or water, the 3rd day came and went. And then the 4th. By that point, I was expectedly devoid of any sense of dignity, and I sat there, covered in all manner of human filth, as my body quickly wasted away. Still, I clung to the vain hope that someone would open that door. It was all I had. Occasionally, I would hear footsteps. Whenever I did, I mustered up what meager strength I had left to bang on the door. Whoever's there, please open the door. I'm begging you. Someone. But my pleas fell on deaf ears. Though they didn't respond to me, I could hear the Abigails muttering to one another in the corridor. Did you hear that? Yes, I did. I wonder what's gone into Lady Michel. They say she was cursed. Maybe she sold her soul to the devil. Dreadful. I should stay away from that door. I don't want to be cursed too. I'm not cursed. Do not sell my soul to the devil. I'm kind of scared. I might have to find work somewhere else. I want to make sure we stay away from that door. Why do you think I'm cursed? I never did anything wrong. Lady Michel has lost her mind. She's deranged. I'm scared even thinking about her. I'm not deranged. My mind is perfectly fine. She's right crazy. She's right mad. No, I'm not. I'm perfectly normal. Someone, please get me out of here.
No! Don't enjoy.
Fifth and then the sixth day passed. By that point, I was hovering on death's brink. I lacked even the willpower to hold myself up against the door, so I simply lay on the cold floor, waiting for the end. I felt no sorrow, no anger, no despair. Nothing. I had been sucked completely dry. I couldn't even compose a coherent thought, which is why the door I had so yearned to open actually did. And someone stepped inside, standing over me. I was unable to process it.
My god, what a mess. Hey, are you still alive? Oh, look at that. I was afraid he would be dead.
It was May's voice.
No. I'm sorry, really. I didn't mean you much harm. But after what you said in front of the whole family, I was a little upset.
Couldn't tell what she was saying. All I could hear were garbled sounds, and all I could do was moan at her.
The servants are all afraid of you now after your little episode. So I volunteered to bring you your food in their place. Everyone was so grateful. I don't think anyone likes you anymore.
Eventually, my muddy mind managed to make sense of the thing she was holding in her hands. A tray of food. I could smell it from here.
At first, I just gave your food to a stray cat. I wish you could have seen it devouring every last bit. What I didn't know, though, was that people can die in just a few days without water. I never intended to kill you. Just didn't know. So I'm really sorry about that. What? But you're alive. For someone so physically weak, you sure are tenacious. Isn't that nice? You have one thing you can be proud of. What was that? Water? You want water? Hold on, I've got some right here.
She picked up a goblet with her delicate fingers. My hands swiped weakly at the air, trying to grab it. A grin spread across her lips, and then she let go.
You're so mean! You're so mean! Go on, drink. You better hurry or the rug will absorb it all. You wanted water, didn't you? Then drink.
In that moment, I could hear the sound of the last of my dignities crumbling away. Driven solely by my survival instincts, I bent down toward the rug, pressing my lips against the spreading puddle.
You really did it! This is too good, Michel. You look like a cat. No, cats are much more graceful. I can't stop laughing. The daughter of a prestigious family, the Belenges, sucking water out of a carpet. I wish I had a painter here to capture this image on canvas. So you know, I accept that I made a mistake, Michel. I promise I'll bring you your food from now on. I'll take very good care of you. This is going to be fun.
Listening to her childish yet deeply malicious laughter, I understood. I was her plaything now. My hell was only just beginning.
I don't like it. I don't like this at all.
Having gotten food and water, my body recovered somewhat, but I was hardly in peak condition. that would take some time given how badly malnourished I had been. And May continued to treat me like her pet, constantly stoking the flame of rage within me. But I was too weak to stay on my feet for long, and talking hurt my throat. I assume it was a calculated effort on her part to maintain power over me, to keep me as miserable as possible. She always had a smirk on her face as she gazed down on me.
Come on, open up. Today I'm going to feed you myself. What's the matter? I can't put anything in with your mouth closed. Or do you want to starve to death?
Hey, why are you doing this?
Why? Because it's fun. Why else?
You married into this family, you sick wench. What gives you the idea you can treat me?
Are you saying that because I married in, I'm of lesser stature than you? That's true, I am. But what's your point? You think you can intimidate me with formalities?
Me?
Ew. I would rather you not speak my name, if you wouldn't mind. That doesn't excuse...
That doesn't excuse your treatment of me. Someone... Dear George will make you pay for this.
You don't have a single friend here, Michelle. No one to take your side. And no one to say a thing about me playing with you. Assuming you were, somehow, able to tell someone, no one would believe you.
That's a lie.
Do you have any idea what people say about you? They say you've gone mad, that you've sold your soul to the devil. Do you honestly believe anyone would trust you?
I'm not mad.
I don't know. You look plenty mad to me.
Fine, then I'll run away. I'll escape from this estate. And from you.
You think you could survive out in the world with that body? A stray cat could live more than you. You never find work. I give you a week at best.
You can't be so sure of that. Maybe I could make it on my own.
Maybe, but either way, there's no way you're getting out. You try to run. You try to run, someone might just cut your legs off.
How is that at all necessary?
Don't ask me. Maybe because your curse hasn't broken? You know, you're lucky you're even allowed to live. You should be grateful to me for volunteering to take care of you. Nobody else wanted to have anything to do with it. So if you want to keep living, you have to show me some respect, and you have to do everything I tell you to. Understood?
So this is the real you? You were just pretending to be respectable? When in reality, not only are you sleeping with Didier, you're a downright vile woman. You've been putting on an act ever since you got here.
Oh, you make it sound like I'm somehow worse than anyone else. I'm quite normal, thank you.
How's this normal?
Listen to me, Michelle. The side of me you see right now isn't necessarily the whole thing. The sweet girl I am for the family is also me. And when I held you in my arms, that too was me. I'm not putting on an act.
Liar.
Although, to tell you the truth, I never actually liked you, so that part was a lie, yes. If Mother hadn't asked, I would have never even considered getting friendly with you.
And me.
You know, life as a noble woman is so dull. It's so restrictive. No room for love at all. So can you really blame me? There so happened to be the most wonderful night right there for the taking. Why shouldn't I have gone after him? Oh, the shadow. I'm still young. Let me have some fun, you know? Not like women have much else in the way of recreation.
So it wasn't Didier, but you seduced him?
And it all would have worked out beautifully too, if you had only kept your mouth shut. You ruined our family gathering and damaged my reputation. And you called me a whore. That wasn't very nice now, was it? Is it any surprise I'm a little sore? Brought this on yourself, Michelle.
I brought this on myself? Don't you dare. Nothing justifies what you're doing to me. I'm not the disturbed one. You're a crazy whore, and don't you try and pretend otherwise, damn you!
My, such language. You're not being very nice to me, Michelle. Girls aren't supposed to talk like that, you know?
I'm not a girl.
And what are you?
I'm a man.
A man? With that body?
May quietly rose, grabbed me by the hair, and shoved me to the floor. Let go of me.
You call yourself a man? You can't even get out of a girl's grip.
Oh, whose fault is that? He's probably malnourished.
I'm not all that strong either. In fact, I'd say I'm rather weak. Just a small, powerless girl. If you were a man, you would have no problem breaking free, malnourished or otherwise. But you can't.
She traced the lines of the emaciated ribs of her nails, traveling slowly down my chest.
But even ignoring that, you're missing the most important part.
Stop. Get off me. I tried to shove her aside with all the strength I could squeeze out of my arms. But as the mace had said, I couldn't even overpower a girl. All I could do was lie there beneath her and beg. Get off me! Groaning in anger and frustration. Finger came to a stop just above my navel. She looked up at me with a sweet smile, and then pulled her hand away. Just as a wave of relief spread through me, she shoved me back, jumped up, and slammed her foot between my legs. I shuddered as the pain jolted up my spine. And May looked down on me as I screamed. I don't like it. A smirk spread across her face.
Oh my, does that hurt? There's a surprise. Even without boy parts, it still hurts.
Stop, please. And she didn't stop at stepping on me. I'm begging you, stop, please. She dug her toes into my flesh.
What are you exactly, Michelle? From the feel of it, you don't quite have proper girl parts either.
Hey, please. On top of the physical pain, unbearable humiliation and shame corroded away at my spirit.
What a strange creature you are.
Stop. If I could have died right then and there, honestly, that would have been preferable to the emotional hell she was putting me through.
You should take a look at yourself in the mirror, Michelle. You're crying, sobbing like a sad little girl. How much of a boy are you? You lusted after me with this body? Seriously, you're disgusting. I can't believe you actually had the gall to fall for me.
May's abuse was not a one-time occurrence. As she had promised, she came to feed me every day, but her arrival brought nothing but anguish and torture. Every day she chipped away more of my spirit, but I hadn't succumbed to her yet. My anger so overpowered any fear I felt. About a week after May started caring for me.
Have you been a good girl, Michelle? Brought you your supper. I'll set it right here for you. What's the matter, Michelle? Your food's right there. It's going to get cold. Go on, eat. But no using your hands. Crawl over and use your mouth. Come on, eat. Or would you rather I fed you? What was that? Do you have something to say? I can't understand a word you're saying, Michelle. If you would eat, you would have enough strength to talk. Huh?
Going to kill you, May! That was, I believe, the first time in my life I had felt a sincere, overpowering desire to end someone's life. I wanted to see her dead. With my hands and legs tied up, I lurched for her, and like the dog she so wanted me to be, I chomped down on her wrist. The taste of someone else's blood was far more unpleasant than I had expected. I felt like I was going to vomit. I was determined to not let go of her wrist for any reason. I would gnaw her to the bone and rip her entire hand off. She could beat me unconscious and I still wouldn't let go. She would have to kill me to get me off of her. I wanted her to feel the same pain I felt when she trampled on me.
Let go!
My body never did what I wanted it to, though. I could swear on my life I wouldn't release her arm, but I could never seem to make good on my determination. May's foot flew up into my emaciated gut. The pointed tip of her shoe dug into my flesh like a knife, and I collapsed to the floor in a fit of convulsions. It's just as I was about to cough up a mouthful of stomach acid, she rammed her foot into my abdomen a second time. No. She didn't even give me enough time to get to my feet, let alone fight back, before she kicked me again. Again and again and again and again. Stop. My gut, my chest, my legs, and my face.
What's wrong with you? Don't you get it? You're not the one in control here. You should be thanking me. What you did to me that day was incredibly hurtful. Yet here I am bringing you your food. Can you not see just how kind-hearted I am? So why would you go and bite me? What would possess you to do such a thing?
I don't. Stupid, it's stupid. Oh my god, Remy, why do you smell like chicken grease? Is my controller charging? Hey, Remy, stop. It's not charging. Now it is. Okay. Oh lord. This fucking clown. The person abusing him. Oh, I'm so nice to you. Shut up. Oh! The anger. Gasping for breath, my consciousness slipping away from me. Caught a glimpse of Amay's eyes as she swung her leg back for another kick. When I did, a single word rose to my mind. Demon.
Isn't that something? Can't even stand up to a girl.
She really is a bitch. Just straight up.
I'm not that strong. I'm weak and frail. This is the first time I've ever kicked someone. I have absolute control over you, Michel. You understand that now, right? You learned your lesson, didn't you?
Not an ounce of strength remained within me. My tongue and cheeks were torn up. My mouth tasted of blood. Making herself weak and having no experience in the ways of physical violence, she knew no restraint. The ignorant can be so much more brutal and viciously relentless than the seasoned. My vision had gone red, and I could hardly feel my own face. There was a strange gurgling sound with every breath I took.
Ah, jeez. What am I going to do about this hand? It hurts like crazy. Oh, I know. Tell everyone you finally lost it. You tried to bite my hand off. They all feel so bad for me. I can just see the sad looks on Dizzy and George's faces.
They... not...
You know, your brothers. I've completely given up on you. A deranged sister is nothing but trouble. You know what you are, Michel? You're a demon child.
Why was I the demon, and not her? Why did no one come to my aid? Several times I considered ending my life, but every time I did, memories of better days came back to me. The time before my body had transformed. Days when we were all so sure of our happiness kept me changed in life. Why couldn't things still be the way they had been then? In my heart, I hadn't changed at all. So how had things ended up like this?
Michel! Oh, Michel! Are you in there? Did you need something, George?
Oh, come on, don't be like that. Do I have to need something to talk to you? No, but you look like you're in an unusually good mood, so I thought... Well, why wouldn't I be?
It's a wonderfully gloomy day out. I would understand if it were clear out, but can you really say it's wonderfully gloomy? Well, you can't be outside for very long when it's not cloudy, so in our case, this is perfect weather. What do you say we go for a little stroll while we can? Dee's around today too, so we can see if he's up for it. It'll be like old times. We've been running around like headless chickens lately, so we haven't had much of a chance for a sibling outing. We'll have Mom to make us lunch and then... Ooh! We'll take a couple horses up to the forest's edge. I'm fine with that if you are. You bet your butt I am. I asked after all. Now come on, let's go. An outing, you say? Yep. Hold on hop on a couple horses and head for the forest. We haven't done this in a while, so I figured why not? I see. Well, if Michel's coming, I see no reason to say no. Let's set off right away. Whoa, slow down there. Are you saying you wouldn't go if it was just me? It's Michel or nothing? Of course. Why on earth would I want to go horse riding alone with you? I would rather drown myself. The gasp! Did you? Could I perhaps make a small request? Go on, let's hear it. Do you mind if I hold the horse's reins? Oh, that's all? By all means. I'll be there behind you to make sure nothing happens, so have at it. But do be warned, my horse is a bit temperamental. If you're not gentle, I'll start getting moody with you. I doubt that will be a problem for you though, Michel. I'll be careful. Hey, whoa! Slow down, guys! Look at that, Michel. George is still fumbling around all the way back there. Are we going a bit too fast? No, you're fine. That you were able to get past that so quickly is proof of your talent. Finally caught up. This isn't a race, you know. Why can't we enjoy the scenery, indulge in some nice pathos? A warrior and his horse need not have pathos. Isn't that right, Michel? Certainly is, Didier. Come on, you guys! Be nice! This was my idea! You've really taken after old D, haven't you, Michel? I, for one, would rather see you admiring flowers or dancing with butterflies, or gazing out at a beautiful sunset, or enjoying poetry. More pathos, my dear sister, less barbarism. Long swords, suits of armor, and tales of heroic knights are so much more appealing, though. You let him get his claws in too deep, Michel. Oh dear, oh my. We're going to have 2 meathead siblings before I know it. What did you just call me? Now, you two. Why don't we stop here for a picnic? Seconded. My stomach's been rumbling up a storm. I took a few bites earlier because I was about to die back there. I hope your horse throws you into a river. Puppy. Bro, we're just vibing. Hey, so the other day I brought a cat home. Cat? Yeah, yep. Speckled from head to tail and ugly as a witch's arse. I was gonna keep it in my room, but Mom flipped when she saw it. Keep that filthy thing out of my house. Wish there was something we could do about how much of a clean freak she is. Lord, I don't have to stress Mother too much. You're unpredictable enough as it is. It would be nice, though, to have a cat, I mean. You think so? And how about this? We'll keep it in the courtyard. I'll feed it on days when it's clear, and you can do it when it's cloudy, Michel. I don't know what cats eat, though. I bet he'd like pastries. Do you want to kill the cursed thing? I cannot approve of anyone taking care of an animal who thinks that's a good idea. Sorry. I'll pull the stick out of your RSD. Life's all about experimentation. Live and learn. Don't experiment on animals. Well, if you're gonna be like that, how about you help out too? You can keep an eye on us and make sure we don't do anything stupid. What? Now you're trying to drag me into this? Already done. You're in. It's settled. Damn it, George. Now we need to come up with a name. Have any ideas, Michel? What? You want me to name it? Not very often you get to give another living thing a name. Well, I guess you might have a few more chances down the road. Consider this practice. Something elegant and beautiful. You've got this.
Now, George. Don't put so much pressure on her.
You have a point, though. It is a good opportunity. Don't stress too much about it, Michelle. Just choose something you like. You said the cat was speckled and ugly? Yep, one look and you'll be laughing so hard you can't breathe. Alright then. Ugly Speckles. That's its name? It would seem you do not have a future in the arts, Michelle. But you said it was ugly and speckled, George! I did, yes. I did, yes. You could have tried a little harder than that, though. But, you know, why not? Ugly Speckles it is. It must be kind of charming when you say it out loud. Ugly Speckles? It's not that funny. It is quite something indeed. The more I think about it, the more I... Oh, you too, Didier! We should bring Ugly Speckles on our next outing. Sitting together beneath the clouds, having lunch? That we should. But Michelle's gotten a little bigger. Let's do this again. 3 of us and our ugly speckled cat. It really is good. Exactly. You said it. We're all good friends here after all. I've never been your friend, though. God, must you always be such a jerk?
Did you... George... Is May telling the truth? Do you really think I'm nothing but trouble? Do you think I've lost my mind? That I'm a demon child? Did you... George... Why do you not open this door for me and let me out? Were the things I said that day really heinous? Do you resent me too? Like a May? Did you? George, what do you think about me now? Is this body really so unusual? If I hadn't undergone the transformation I did, would things still have been the way they were before? Would we be able to go out to that forest again and make silly, meaningless conversation, everyone laughing like we had then? If this body hadn't changed the way it did, would I not be trapped in this darkness? Even if that were the case, I didn't want to be a girl. God descended from heaven and offered to change me back. I would have turned him down, because inside, I wasn't a girl. It's really good. Really excellent. Chef's kiss. In my nightmare, May's hands didn't end there either. Fuck. As much as I love to admit it, I was terrified of her. Every day, I dreaded the sound of the door opening. However, if I were to block the door off with furniture, I would lose my only remaining lifeline. I had no choice in the matter.
It's time for supper, Michelle. I brought your favorite. Parsnips. Well, but the dogs didn't eat of them anyway. But you don't mind, do you? I'm going to cut your nails today, Michelle. I need you to stay very still. You wouldn't want my hands to slip. So to make sure you do, I'm tying you up. This way you can't accidentally move.
Hold me the trauma.
Oh. Here's your water, Michelle. It's murky? Oh, heavens me. I must have fetched it from the wash bin by mistake. Supper time, Michelle. I brought your parsnips again. Don't worry, the dogs didn't have any of these. They didn't seem to be interested in eating them raw. What? You don't want any? What am I going to do with these? You know, Michelle, you're such a disgrace. Cry for me, won't you? Beg for mercy. Look at you, all that pride, gone out the window. It's hilarious, I tell you.
She did everything imaginable to torture me, both physically and emotionally. To be honest, it was rather impressive, in a sick way. how she was able to come up with so many different ways to torment me. And she knew precisely what caused me the most pain. My body, and the discrepancy between what I was and what I felt I was. She delighted in telling me I wasn't male, sometimes in showing me, but I don't think I need to describe the things she did to me in any more detail. I can think of only one way to keep myself from breaking down, and completely stop talking, stop struggling. Then one day, after about 6 months or so, she said with a disinterested sigh, "I'm done." And that was the last of it. 6 months! 6 months! By swallowing my pride and not resisting, I was able to escape from her grip. Once she was gone, the servants took over attending to me again. I was still imprisoned, but now there was a serenity in my solitude. I didn't speak with anyone. I didn't make eye contact. I didn't do anything. I just lived. But even though I had peace, I still feared May having a change of heart. I trembled at the possibility that one day it might be her that opened the door. But above all, I hated, despised the fact that I lived in such fear of a girl. An overwhelming self-loathing threatened to crush me. Crush me? Why did I say that? Crush me. I had recurring nightmares about the things May had done to me. The wounds she gave me did not heal. They only grew worse, eating away at me day after day. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. I was beginning to lose confidence in my own sanity in the silent darkness, where there was no sense of time. The line between dream and reality blurred. I often found myself screaming, crying into the empty air. I clawed at my skin, pulled out my hair, paced back and forth across the room, pounded at the door, yelling for help, screamed some more. It was the very image of pitiful, absolute wretchedness, and every time I did, I'm sure there was someone on the other side of that door, whispering about how poor Michelle had lost her mind. Eventually, I gave up entirely. It was a stormy night in my 16th year. I had been confined for more than 2 years at that point. Heavy rain pounded against the windows like thousands of little spears. I was sitting quietly on my bed, unable to fall asleep, and suddenly there was a loud banging on the door. Michelle! Oh no, Michelle! Michelle, are you awake? If you aren't, then hurry up and get awake. We've got big trouble. Lower your damn voice. What? When I first heard my brother's voices after so long, I thought I was hallucinating. In 2 years, they had never once come for me, no matter how hard I pounded on the door, no matter how many times I called for them. And after all that time, I didn't expect that to ever change. I'd given up, assumed they had long since cast me aside. Unable to bring myself to say anything, I simply stared at the door, when there was another bam bam. The sound was half consumed by a crack of thunder, giving it an indescribably eerie quality. Please say something, Michelle. Seriously, there's no time. You can hear us in there, can't you? You're there behind the door, aren't you? Come on, just one word, Michelle. Is it really you, Titi and George? For a moment, they seemed to be at a loss for words, probably because they almost didn't recognize my voice. But it was only a heartbeat, and then Didier spoke. There is a carriage waiting outside. I'm going to unlock the door so you can leave in it. Why? Because Dad's talking crazy. He's saying the Belangi family has no need for a demon child, that you're a mark of shame on our name. So he's going to have you executed. George! Father wants me dead? I felt like the floor had fallen out from under me. Executed? Demon child? Mark of shame? So he was saying I didn't even deserve to live anymore? It's planned for tomorrow morning. We only just found out ourselves, which is why you prepared a way for me to escape. But why? Why? Do you even need to ask? Because we're family. Something terrible has gotten into Father. I clenched my teeth, fighting back a bitter, angry sigh, but I couldn't keep all those emotions bottled up for long. The maelstrom of feelings I thought I had lost in my 2 years of imprisonment were swirled up inside me, spilling from my lips. Why are you doing this now? If you really felt that way, then why didn't you come sooner? 2 years I spent locked in this room. Do you have any idea how I felt in that time? Any idea how hard I had to fight to endure? How many times I cried for your help? How hard I pounded on the door, begging to be set free? But never once did you come. Not even once. Michel, I scare you, don't I? You think I've gone insane? That I've lost my mind? That I sold my soul to the devil, didn't you? No, Michel, we don't... Then why? Why didn't you come and set me free? Michel, No, we don't think you've lost your mind at all. So you didn't want to see me then? You didn't want to face what I'd become? Tell me I'm wrong, did you, George? You left me here, abandoned me, for 2 whole years, locked me away so you didn't have to see me. I'm sorry, I'm just, really busy for my art. I've been getting a ton of commissions down at the court, and Ziji's a knight now, so he's up to his neck in expeditions. I'm really sorry. As am I. I cannot say that you are wrong. After what happened, I wasn't sure how I was supposed to act around you. I'm still not sure, even now. I knew I had to find the time to collect myself, but I kept putting it off, vainly hoping that time would take care of it all. And for that, I owe you an apology. You need to understand. I do not agree with Father's decision. I do not want to lose you. I don't think you're a demon child. And George feels the same. Neither of us wants to see you dead. What he said, Michel? There's not much time. We need to get you out of here. I bit down hard on my lower lip, hard enough to draw blood. It was that, or start sobbing. It's a little late for that. Michel, if you don't get out of here, you're going to be killed. I'm not an angel sent from heaven, or a demon child. Then what am I? What on earth am I? What are you? You're Belange. You're a family, and that's all there is to it. Pray you can forgive me for averting my eyes for so long. Can I trust you? Can I trust that even if the whole world says I'm cursed, that you'll always be on my side? That you'll always be my brothers? Can I put my trust in you once more? Did you, George? You absolutely can, Michel. I swear to God on high. And I swear to the God of art. Michel, I have no other choice, do I? I couldn't talk Father out of it, could I? I would rather you didn't try. He is not a man to change his mind. If you were to show up before him, he would likely draw a sword on you himself. It would destroy Mother. I'm sorry. We're not doing this only for you. Okay. I'll go. Thank goodness. The carriage will take you to a mansion, Michel. It's a property Father purchased some time ago, but due to rumors about the house, it's abandoned. No one wants to buy it from him either, and that's unlikely to change. It's the ideal place to keep you out of sight. What kinds of rumors? Well, no point in keeping it a secret. He has a right to know. They say a witch lives there. A witch? I think it's all just made up personally. I went to check the place out and there was no one there. It was a little dreary, to be sure. I had hoped to have a better place arranged for you, but there wasn't enough time. This is only temporary, Michel. I cannot say how long it will be. Oh, that was Didier saying that. It's not George. My father will pass away eventually. When he does, George will inherit the estate, and that will mean you can return. So I ask that you hold out until that time. If I don't leave, I'm going to be executed. So send me anywhere. I won't complain. I'm glad to hear you say that. I'll talk to Father. I'm sure he does not suspect anything. We'll make this work. Don't you worry. The long and short of it is, Dad simply wants you erased from the family. George! Sorry. I wasn't trying to be mean. But anywho, once I take over, we're in the clear. You'll be acknowledged as a Belinge. I see. Okay, then. Can you open the door now? Just a minute. Oh god, my voice. Oh. Huh? You're still not ready? I don't have any clothing. Oh, right. You wouldn't, huh? How tall are you now, Michelle? Around the same height as you, I think. You're taller than me? Damn. Alright, I'll bring you some of my clothes. Thank you. Wow, I don't think I've ever heard you say thank you without putting up a fight, Michelle. It's not true. I don't think. I'll be back soon. Get what you need together. Alright. Smiled a bit there. Or maybe grimaced. Sitting in the carriage waiting outside, listening to the pitter-patter of the rain, I gazed out at my two brothers. I hadn't seen them in 2 years, but they hardly looked any different than how I remembered them. I was the only one who had changed, and dramatically at that. Looking at them, I couldn't help but remember the old days, playing chess with Didier, learning to draw from George, our sibling outings. However, the ominous sound of thunder crashing in the distance drowned out those memories. The mansion is several days' travel from here. Hopefully the carriage isn't too uncomfortable. I'll send a package with any supplies you need once a month. Food, clothing, and something to pass the time. If there's anything you want, Michelle, just tell me. No, or you can have a servant pass a message on to me. Can't think of... Actually, wait. I can think of one thing. I would like a chess set. Alright, I'll have one made. I would rather have yours, Didier. Would that be possible? Are you sure you want that beaten old thing? Yes, I want that one. Alright then. I'll include it in the first delivery. I'll send you something too, Michelle. Anything you want, just tell me. In that case, I would like some art tools. I'm nowhere near as much of an artist as you are, George, so they don't have to be anything special. Gotcha. So some canvas and... How about some charcoal? When you're back, I want to see what you've made with it, okay? Okay. I know this is already hard enough on you, Michelle, but I need to ask you to do something for me. Avoid making contact with anyone who doesn't already know about you. So, I can't talk to anyone but anybody but the servants? But simply, yes. Tomorrow, the world will consider you dead. So we cannot have people finding out you are actually alive. Especially Father. Please do this for me. I've been doing that for 2 years already. I've long since lost interest in interacting with anybody, so you don't need to ask me to keep to myself. Right. Oh. Does anyone else know I'm alive? Yes, Mother knows. In fact, this was her idea. It was? She loves you, Michelle. She really does. Mom just, is having a little trouble facing the truth. So even though she's not here to see you off, I guarantee you she doesn't want to see you dead. She wants to have you in her life again. I expect Mother will be writing to you, so please, take the time to write her back. She's a troubled woman, but her love for you is true and unwavering. Will you do that? Just a quick little, hey, got you a letter, doing great, will suffice. Alright. Just so you know, it kills me indeed that we can't stand up to Dad. As long as he lives, his word is God in this house. I understand that, yes. Well, you never know, he could be gone quicker than you expect.
week from now, and bam, he's dead as Dee's social life. Is there not an ounce of respect in your body? Oh, give me a break. I'm upset. It's gone way too far. And once he's dragged his arse off to the great beyond, anything goes. Surprise! Michel was alive! Yeah, I suppose. Until then, we'll take care of things here. Tomorrow's gonna be the performance of our lives. Crying like a couple old big babies and laughing our tails off inside. But forgive me if I have trouble trusting that loose tongue of yours. Shh, I'm not stupid. I know this is important. Not even a May will suspect a thing. May. Yeah, not even she can know. It's gonna crush her, I'm sure, but the less people who know, the better. When George said her name, my whole body went shamefully cold. It had been a year and a half since the hell she put me through, but every last detail of it remained carved into my mind and body. There was no way she would be even slightly sad about my death. She might act it, but she would almost certainly be elated by the news. It seemed George had so yet to see what lay beneath that woman's mask. You know what? I know you two were close. Huh? Are you worried about how this might affect her? What? She cared for you for about 6 months, didn't she? When you wouldn't let the servants in? What? From what I hear, you got real close to dying in there. You wouldn't even eat unless she was there. Who the hell told you that? What? Is that not what happened? Did something happen between you two, Michel? May didn't do a damn... Never mind. I can't tell them. I can't put what I went through into words. It will only worsen my shame. Especially not in front of my brothers. George, how are things between you and May? You still letting what happened 2 years ago get to you? Well, I mean, at the time, things were a total disaster. I'm all excited about getting myself a pretty little wife, only to find out she's rocking the boat with someone else. I cried for weeks. Yeah. I'm sorry. Deep down, though, she ain't actually a bad girl. She's young and kids make mistakes. After it all came out, she turned over a new leaf. She started doting on me like something serious, and, well, it's hard not to let one little mistake like that go when she's trying so hard to make up with me. The age excuse doesn't work for Dee, though. For about a year, things were really rough between us. I didn't even want to look at him. But at the end of the day, we're family. We can get past anything. Besides, because you let the cat out of the bag, that gave me something to hold over Dee. All things considered, I'm not complaining. So, you would say you're happy then, George? Sure would, yep. Believe it or not, I'm kinda head over heels for her. Hard not to like a girl like Ame. Oh, I see. Do you really feel that bad about 2 years ago? So she's still keeping up the good girl facade around George and Didier. No one else knows. She's actually a sadistic cackling demon. There's nothing less trustworthy in the world than a woman who's always smiling. But if George thinks he's happy, I can't take that away from him. Michel? Oh, right, yes. I do feel guilty about the way I lost control of my emotions and took it out on you guys. It happens to everyone. In fact, you could stand to do a little more shouting and fussing than you could. Because I have underdeveloped social skills. You heard that? You got one hell of a nasty streak, huh, Dee? Glad to hear you're still on good terms. It wasn't my intention to pit the two of you against each other. We know, the blame falls on my shoulders. I want you to know something, Michel. Though your transformation was too much for Mother and Father to accept, with enough time, everything will go back to the way it was before, just like it did for myself and George. None of this is your fault. It was all unfortunate timing. God's a little bit of a jerk, too. Try not to forget I am a knight, George. In time? In time. Speaking of which, we don't have much left. I'm going to tell the coachman to set off, okay? Did you? Yes? Tell me the truth. The three of us never meet again.
Why would you ever ask that? Of course we will.
Not a chance of letting this be our last family get-together.
One last question then.
Yes?
Am I your brother?
Well, I mean, look at ya. Don't look like much of a sister to me. So yeah, I'd say you are.
I see. So long then. Farewell. May good health bless you until we meet again.
Until then, Michelle.
Farewell.
Before seeing me off for good, they both gave me strong, firm hugs. Did first and then George. The warmth I felt in their arms, my family's arms, slowly spread through my chilled body, which made it that much more difficult to part ways. The wheels of the carriage rattled against the wet, stone-paved road. I stuck my head out of the window, watching as they strummed into the distance, standing there in the rain until they were completely out of view. Tightness filled my breast. Every glimmer of hope I had for my new life was matched by an equal degree of darkness and uncertainty. Would I ever make it back home? If I did, would people still call me a demon child? Having to write mother was another uncomfortable weight on my soul. The thought of having to play a girl for her made me sick. George had acted like it would be nothing, but it wasn't that easy. It was more than mere pretend. DJ had said that with time things would change. But how could it be certain that those changes would be for the better? The wooden wheels turned, carrying me away to that cursed mansion.
Oh, I'm gonna stop soon. It is almost 9, and we have things to do at 9. A lot of pain. The next thing I know, I'm sinking into a vast void. Darkness cuffs my hands and legs, restricting my movement. Images of the past I had kept buried away for so long stream past me. This isn't how I wanted it to happen. Not coming from my own mouth, but being laid bare for all to see without my consent. That wasn't how I wanted her to find out about my secret, about my shameful history. I warned you, my dear. I told you didn't want to reclaim your old self. If you had simply let it be, you wouldn't be here now, forced to relive it all. Now, do you understand? The tale I spun behind the fourth door was as much for you as it was for her. There, you were a young man with a sad fate. You met a wonderful woman, fell in love with her, and then died in the arms of tragedy. The sequence of events is not far from the truth, but I was able to turn it into something enchanting and beautiful. I got rid of all the nasty little details. Your ugliness, your body troubles, all of that. Doesn't it seem a little unfair, Michelle? You tore down the walls around Giselle's heart, around her past, but you wanted to keep your own nice and safe and hidden away. As if you're right to be upset. You were afraid she wouldn't accept you, were you not? And that's precisely what happened. Can you honestly blame her? The truth you've kept hidden away is not something most would be able to accept. The prince who came riding in to save her, silence, wasn't actually a man. Please, enough. I've seen enough. Let's stay buried, please. Just stop this. I don't want to see it. I don't want anything to do with it. What a sad little creature you are, my dear. Not a woman in this world would have any interest in you now. You've surrounded yourself with layer upon layer of walls, covered yourself with this patchwork, barely held together quilt of masks, and it's the only thing keeping you together. You're the frailest one of all, the weakest. And it's about time you accepted that and stopped trying to fight it. I am not weak. Oh, is that so? Let's proceed with the tale then, shall we? Face the one you hate most in this world. Yourself. Your weakness. Your ugliness. Face it in despair. Once again, my own desires, my own wishes are completely irrelevant. The past sprawls out before me once more, and the witch is exactly right. I despise the man I was then, teeming with vain hope and foolish dreams. I would rather pretend that part of me never existed, but I have no choice. I'm dragged back into the life I once lived. My pleas for mercy fading into dark nothingness.
Oh, bloop, bloop. I think I'll end it here. I'm hungry. And I'm sad. Oh, this song. Just pain. Just pain. I just want Giselle back. I just want her back. It's not Michel's theme, but it does play often with Michel. I guess it could be his theme. There is one song, literally. That is literally his name. We'll get to it though. But woo! Oh shit! Now that was wild. Oh, as everybody's crying. Oh, oh, pain. Oh no. Yeah, I was looking at the original soundtracks. That came with the copy I got. The titles. It was different from whatever translated titles from the Japanese one, or on Spotify at least. It's like just double pain. But yeah, a big feeling I had while reading this part was like no way Giselle won't accept Michel for not being quote unquote a man. Like, if you remember, the maid was like just continued waiting for Michel, and then at a point she was like, I don't care, old, young, whatever the fuck, girl, man, I just want Michel back. Like, she don't give a damn. I know it. Exactly. Like, no way, no. So, yeah. Yeah. I never told her. Never got to. I never got to. Yeah, of course. At that point, Michel was he just knew, like, oh yes, Giselle will accept me. And then see whatever that happened at the top of the tower reject him, like, oh. Like, real or illusion? That shit hurt. Oh, but we'll continue tomorrow, 8 p.m. maybe? Probably. But woo! I care him. Okay. Well, bye-bye. Flatline for real this time. Okay, ending the stream. Thank you very much for joining. I will go eat fried chicken now and be sad.